Had a little listen to his podcast, huh?
Dude, it's educational. And besides, I've been wanting to listen to this one.
Welcome to Idling in the Impala, a podcast by and for lovers of supernatural and the fanfiction it inspires. I'm Kasey.
I'm Sandra, and we are joined by a talented writer that is all about reader-insert and original female characters. Known as Zeppelin Skies on AO3, Alex has dozens of stories that center around a variety of characters brought to life by Jensen Ackles. Self-proclaimed hopeless romantic and DeanGirl, she's been sharing her work since 2017. We can't wait to talk supernatural and fanfic with her. So big thanks for coming onto the podcast, and welcome, Alex.
Yay! Welcome.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah.
We're very excited to have you.
A little bit of backstory before the first question. I met Alex through the pond, and she's won a couple of prizes where I've gotten the chance to narrate a lot of her fiction. So I did a little bit of Smoke Eater. I did Midnight Espresso, getting ready to do another one. So I was just like, hey, you like the narration? You do the fanfic. Come on and talk to us a little bit about all this stuff. And she graciously agreed. So yes. And with that,
with my stars in my eyes, I was like, yes, please.
Oh, you're too kind. You're too kind. You may feel differently in the next 5 minutes. We'll see.
Okay. We'll see. Let's go.
We'll see.
I don't know if Kasey wants to dive right in and ask the question.
Well, see, I don't plan for this question. You're the first person that I've ever actually planned this question for. And it's like, I've read, I'm not stupid. Like, do you, when we're talking about supernatural and we're talking about Sam and Dean and the boys, do you have a particular blorbo? Is there one that you favor over the other?
Ooh. Well, I am a self-proclaimed DeanGirl, but you know what? I love me a bit of Sam as well.
No, it doesn't. No.
Oh, sorry. It has to be either or? Okay.
Yes.
If I gun to my head, the cult to my head, I have to say Dean.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
We have a table. Kasey does
have a table. A table.
Keeps track.
Like, I love you, Jared. I love you, Sam. But, you know,
no, see,
Dean just does things.
Everybody says that. They all come on and they're like, oh my God, no, I just love Dean. But, and I'm like, no. Did you not read Game of Thrones? Like, no, you've made your, don't try and don't put me up by being like, oh my God, but I love Sam. No, if you loved him,
no,
he
you've
would be your
chosen your
first
clan.
choice. You've made your choice. Yes, that's okay. Why do you hurt me like
count
this?
now? No, because I feel like it's not always Dean. So where are we at right now with the numbers?
1 second. 16-8.
Okay. Well, I've got some more people in my back pockets. We're going to get some more Sam love in here. So no worries. We'll get there. But
you're real. I will say you're real lucky that it's evening time in the UK. Otherwise, you might have got slightly more of a diatribe about that. But it's evening time.
This is mellow, Kasey, about that question.
This is chill.
Yeah.
Oh,
I love it. I love the energy.
Oh, goodness. So, Alex, when exactly did you get into supernatural?
Ooh, so I would have to have been. I was in high school.
Okay.
So this was 10 years ago.
Okay.
Roughly.
Oh, you're a baby.
Well, you know, I just had a conversation with one of my best friends from school, and we were like, oh God, we're coming up on our 10-year reunion. We're old of graduating high school. But yeah, so I remember being either a junior or a senior, already like halfway senioritis. And, you know, thinking about college and, you know, things were slowing down and speeding up at the same time. And Netflix had featured Supernatural for like weeks and weeks on their top 10. And I was like, what is this? I had seen, because I was a Smallville fan growing up, me and my dad. And so I would see Supernatural come on before it or after it rather. And I'll be like, God, Supernatural, what's that? Is it like paranormal ghost, you know, those fake Ghostbuster people that they make fun of on the show? But basically I thought it was that. And then finally I watched the pilot and I was like, okay, that's it. Supernatural for the next 3 months binging.
Right.
I think I binged about 5 or 6 seasons in 2 weeks.
Nice.
Oh, okay. Because at that point, how many seasons?
I think they were on season 9.
Okay.
I actually looked this back because I was like, what was airing at the time? And it was season 9 in 2014.
Okay.
And that's the year that I graduated high school. So,
Aww.
yeah. So I think it was a little bit before then when I got into it. And then literally not too long after that, I think I started writing supernatural fan fiction for the first time.
Wow.
I would have to look back at my archive to see, because I started with going back to the days of fanfiction.net. That's when I started writing fan fiction.
Okay.
Other fandoms before Supernatural.
Right.
But yeah, at some point I started crossing over because I heard about AO3.
Okay. Now, if we talk about Smallville, so did you know of Jensen Ackles then? Because he was on like season 4.
That's funny.
The only season that I watched, by the way. I just watched season 4 just because I knew he was in that. So yeah. So
funnily enough, I have a memory of him because I watched those early seasons when I was, younger. I actually didn't watch the full thing when I was younger because at the time it wasn't quite my demographic just yet. So I actually went back and rewatched Smallville from beginning to end like a couple years ago. But when I was watching it, I do have a memory of him. And I was a big fan of like all those comic stuff. So I watched Under the Red Hood. I saw, things that he was in, but it didn't register with me that it was him until I started watching Supernatural. And then I looked back at his IMDb and was like, oh God, he was in all those things that I watched.
In your defense though, in a lot of the stuff before Supernatural, he had those like heartthrob bangs, and then it was a pretty hard change to the Dean haircut. So I
know what?
I'll hold that against you.
There were some early Deanisms in his early roles. Let me tell you though, if you see Dark Angel, if you see even in Jason Teague, there's a couple of Dean-esque qualities, but mainly I saw in Dark Angel when I recently saw it for the first time.
Right.
Back in like December, because I was intrigued. People are talking about Dark Angel again, 20 years later, and I'm like, what is this? I have never, and it took me a long time to find it, mind you. But yeah, I saw a lot of pre-Dean, specifically in Alec. Yeah, and I was like, ooh, and it was only a few years before he did Smallville and Supernatural. So I'm like, okay, I'm starting to see a through line.
Yeah,
and,
he was definitely very roguey. Like he had that quality about him.
Devil May
Alec.
Care.
Yeah, that was very that one was not a big leap, I think.
Flirtatious.
I did really I liked him in that a lot.
Yeah.
That was a good role for him. It
agree.
was a shame that it didn't. I mean, I don't know if it's good or bad because they didn't get a third season, or else we might not have had him, as Dean Winchester. So everything happens for a reason. I think one way or another. Are you the type like I am where once you get into an actor, you do like try to like go back and watch everything they've done, or is it just okay? So
I develop what I call like fixations, like small obsessions. And when I get hooked on somebody, like that's it. I got to go through their entire like cinematography. Before him, it was Tom Hiddleston. It's been Sebastian Stan. It's been
all good
Chris
choices.
Evans, briefly.
All good choices.
Yeah, like I've had a lot, and Game of Thrones. I wrote a long story for that one for Jon Snow, Kit Harington. So yeah, no, I've had a lot of different obsessions over the course of my fandom consuming.
Is there a particular? It seems like there's a particular type that you might go for, because when you said Tom Hiddleston, I'm assuming Loki, like that kind. Yeah, so I mean, I see that kind of like, again, you kind of got the rogue guy, the one that's no. Okay.
Have you seen Game of Thrones?
I've seen Game of Thrones. Yes.
Are you going to sit there and be like,
hero? He's like
Jon Snow is the rogue.
No. Hiddleston.
Okay.
Hiddleston. I was talking about Loki. Yeah.
No, that's totally cool. He absolutely is.
Yeah,
he absolutely is. But then I was like, not Jon Snow. No. I will. This is not a Game of Thrones podcast, so I'm going to not get into this. But I wouldn't call him a hero exactly.
He toes that line. They tried so hard not to make him a hero, but he's the underdog anti-hero a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
That's kind of, I think, how our boys are, I think, on the show. You know, a lot of
Yeah,
folks
no, I
do.
love an underdog.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
Absolutely.
they're given that a lot.
After catching up on season 9, did you watch the rest of the seasons like as they aired then?
Pretty much as they came on Netflix, then I would, binge the whole thing. Because at the time I didn't have TV, like normal TV. All I had was streaming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I did that. But, I'll be honest with you, as it was airing, there were a couple seasons that I was like, oh God, like this is later, towards the later seasons, I was like, this is getting a bit much. As far as like the writing was slipping for me a bit on some seasons.
Was it season 12 and why did they bring Mary back? Because I identify with that. Like I get
You know what? Yes, when I was initially watching, it was 11. It started with 11 for me.
So the darkness?
The whole Amara story. Yeah, the darkness. That was weak for me and when I first saw it. And then 12 and 13. And they kind of started to bring me back in 13. And then I got to 14 and I was like really trying to power through some of it. If I'm completely honest.
Yeah, no, that's
when it was first airing. And then I actually waited 2 years to watch the last season because I was really annoyed.
Oh, okay.
But also kind of like heartbroken, like I don't want to finish it.
Yeah.
Because I've lived with these characters since I was, a teen, basically.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, like this is really gonna suck coming to the end of this show. But not that the show was gonna suck, but that I was gonna feel like shit.
Yeah.
After finishing it.
Something closing, like a chapter closing and the kind of like, what's next situation.
I recently went back and rewatched the later seasons.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, there's a lot here. That's great. And things I didn't appreciate at the time. She had her moments. She had her good moments, but I had issues with her. I had issues with her and how she treated the boys. And, I get it. She dealt with a lot coming back. But at the same time, it's like, those are your freaking sons. Where are you going?
Yes. Absolutely.
Why are you doing this to them? Especially
Dean. How
baby.
dare you leave?
You I just wanted to wrap my arms around him.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I always do. But I mean, in that particular...
like extra in that moment. Just be like, here, have an extra
in that moment.
Yes.
Exactly. Oh, God.
Oh, goodness.
His 4-year-old heart was like breaking every time. And I'm like, dear Lord, do you have to do this?
Again.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah, it happened quite a few times in that season. It was pretty bad.
Fucking Mary Winchester.
Yeah. I enjoyed Ketch though. He was an interesting character.
Yeah, he was fun. He was a little, he was kind of like on the roguey side, but then, again, the Mary thing I didn't get. Like, why? I just didn't. I
didn't mind Ketch, but I didn't like the representation of my country. That's when we're not all that cool.
I could see that. I could see you taking issue.
And the thing is, if you wanted him to be an accurate representation of English culture like that, you wouldn't have sent him to a Ponzi fancy pants school. You would have had him grow up on the streets of like East London and he shivved people. Like pick one.
Right.
Pick one. But yeah, no, apart from that representation of my people.
Yeah, I could have seen that being a better like background for him. Coming up from the rough and then having to assimilate into this like posh atmosphere.
It would have made him much more
likable.
Not even just likable, just a much more realistic, like I don't know if it was the vibe they were going for, but the way they characterized him in his backstory just made him seem like a psychopath. Like he'd been born into, and he'd done all this, like he was in with the elite and he was like, but he's this stone cold killer. Like, yeah, okay, he's a psychopath then. Cool, right. Now we've established that. Let's move on. Yeah. Got feelings about the British men alone.
We did a whole episode on that.
I don't blame you.
I guess I was going to ask too. So did you find that there were more episodes you kind of had to really like pick out and say, these are really great episodes in the latter seasons? Because I know that's how I think it was for me. And I'm sure for Kasey watching, like you forget that there's some just really like, I mean, Baby, is in season 11 and that's 11. Like classic. And it's just like, my God, they were still able to do, some really great great things, like in the later seasons but it wasn't. Did you have a favorite season that you thought was really solid, like looking back? And also, are you a rewatcher, or do you kind of like just, because I know you said you rewatch the later seasons, but do you rewatch and kind of pick and choose episodes, or do you kind of do like a full rewatch? How do you do the Supernatural?
I've rewatched it so many times that now it's like kind of a pick and choose when I'm feeling a particular episode, but I've done entire rewatches where I've gone through season 1 all the way to season 9.
Okay.
And then I have to take a break.
Okay.
But like, I've gone through like those big bingings. I've never done a whole 15 series binge just because I think that would take me a long time. But as far a favorite season overall, you're asking? Or like of the later? Okay. Ooh, tough. Oh, Jesus. I actually got asked this question recently, and I was looking through to see like, okay, like what if I had to sit down and rewatch right now, what season could I just watch the whole thing and be perfectly happy? And I think that would be, it was shorter because of the writer's strike, and I'm not saying it because of that, but I think season 3 was really, really interesting. It had so many standout episodes, but also the storyline was just like the sense of urgency with Dean Steamendale. And there were some great episodes. I think Mystery Spot was in that season.
Yep.
I
love that episode, Kasey.
Yes.
It's I don't know if my tote was picked up by the mic, but I tutted.
No, you did?
Just because of the first half, but then the changeover, right, Kasey? Like
that's not why I don't like it.
Why don't you like it?
Why I don't like it.
Why don't you?
Because Jared hated filming it. That's why I don't like it. It's the first part of Mystery Spot is really funny, and the second part of Mystery Spot is everything
it gets
I love.
Sad, intense.
No, but I love it. It's angsty, broody. Fuck you, Sam. And I'm like, oh god, yes, all of this. No, the reason I don't like it is because Jared was like, it was a week of hell. I had to be sad for a whole week. It was awful. It's because he hated filming it. That's the reason I don't like Mystery Spot.
Yeah.
Not because there's anything wrong with the
but
episode.
It was very fun for Jensen. He was like, I don't know. I'm eating tacos. I don't know.
Well, I've never had anybody respond to me like that. When I've gone, it was awful for Jared. Nobody has ever turned around and gone, yeah, but it was great for Jensen. I don't know what to do with that.
Well, I mean, there it is.
There it is.
But there were other great episodes in that one too, like the kids are all right. I'm looking at the thing now. Bad Day at Black Rock. We meet Bella. We meet Gordon was a great antagonist. I love Sterling.
Yeah.
The Supernatural Christmas episode.
Yeah, that was
yes.
a good episode. Yeah,
love that one.
Lots of good stuff.
Dream a Little Dream of Me, another great one. You learn about Bobby's background, like so many great episode Ghost Facers. Jesus. Like so many, even though it was a shorter season due to the 2008 writer strike, like that, I think that was a very strong season. I could say the same of season 4. I think, there were a lot of great, those first 5 seasons, because they had a lead, an arc, a through line all the way through. Aside from all the great one-off episodes. Right. The lore just keep building and building to those season 5 moments. Like, I think I could watch pretty much any of the early seasons over.
How about a least
favorite
there were
season?
Not great ones. Was there a least favorite season that somebody said, okay, sorry, but you've got to get rid of one season that you could never watch again? Would there be one season you'd be able to take out?
That's a tough question. I think,
I don't know what I would pick. I'm trying to think about that right now myself. Like if I had to pick
it's
one.
Almost a tie between 11 and 15.
Okay.
Wow, really?
Yeah, because, well, I mean, we don't have to talk about the botched ending.
Yeah, no, we don't.
We categorically do not. No. But I just like, apart from that bit, I didn't like, there was some good moments in 15. Like Balfagor is one of my favorite, like.
Yeah, but if you had to get rid of a season, like you couldn't watch a season again, Kasey.
Oh yeah, no, I could stop at the end of 14 and be like, I'm done with this now. Yeah, no. It wouldn't be my first choice.
I don't know, because I'm trying to think, because there were some testy ones in the middle.
I think I'd have to go, like, assuming I had to have a reason other than I hate Mary Winchester, so I couldn't just take out 12 and be like, none of this, thank you. Actually, 12, because that had the British men of letters, like, just all of 12. No. But if I couldn't
blonde
pick...
chick, I forget her name, Bevel.
Yeah,
Tony Bevel.
No, see, I can't get rid of 12 because it's got that opening episode, and I'm real fucking into that opening episode.
Yeah,
regarding
Sam.
Dean, though. Regarding Dean. That's
Nope,
12.
that's seals the deal. Right, 12's out. Never mind.
No!
I fucking hate. I don't hate that episode. I have a lot of issues with that episode.
Mhm.
If it wasn't 12, I think it would either have to be 9 or 10. And I'm leaning towards 9. And the reason for that is that the Mark of Cain storyline went on for too long. So pick one. You can either have it in 9 and resolve it at the end of 9, and 10 is something else, or we skip 9 and you start with Demon Dean and then we do the Mark of... Like, just pick one. Either or.
Hot take. Hot take.
Casey's all about the hot takes.
Yeah.
No, I love it. I love strong opinions.
I love Demon Dean. I don't want to lose Demon Dean, but I just think the Mark of Cain, it just went on for too long. Like, because they resolved the demon thing.
How short Demon Dean was. I kind of agree in that sense that they stretched out the Mark of Cain so long. Like, he's already done a lot of demon-y things as Mark of Cain Dean.
Yeah.
But you only get 3 of them.
He took out an entire, like, yes, they were bad guys, but, you know, that entire Frankenstein people, like that whole family, he took out that whole family as Mark of Cain, like human Dean.
Yeah.
Like, that's a demon move, first of all.
Yeah. And then they were like, oh, he's a demon. Oh, but you only get 3 episodes and then we're never going to mention it again. And I was like, okay, I'm low-key mad about this. And then they did the same fucking thing in 14 where they were like, oh, he's Michael Dean now, but you only get it for like 4 episodes and then we're just never going to mention.
Yeah, I feel like there were more repercussions to Michael Dean than there were for Demon Dean.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, where are the repercussions on his freaking soul?
Yeah, exactly.
Like being a human again. Like, I feel like that was resolved rather quickly. Like, yeah, they kind of touched on it the episode after. Yeah. But it's like, he did a lot of stuff as Mark of Cain Dean. He did a lot of stuff as Demon Dean that would have like marked him forever. And yeah, maybe that's implied, you know, through the later seasons. But I don't know, as a writer, I feel like they could have addressed that better.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. They're trying to accomplish a lot in a season. But
that's
if
what
you
made
have multiple writers in a writer's room.
Yeah.
And your only job is to figure out how to, you know,
they waste a lot of
the
time.
authentic story of these characters. Yeah. I agree.
They could tighten some things up and move and like really get the arc going in a way that makes sense, and you really take advantage of every moment. And I think sometimes they just don't get that. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing with all the different writers involved, you know, because
that is the challenge when you have, you know,
they have
a lot of hands in the pot. And it's not just the writers, they have the
creators, the producers,
what's the word I'm
directors.
looking for? Yeah, I was about to say producers, directors, executive teams, LA, you know.
Yeah.
But
they have to answer to a lot of people.
That's what made the first 5 seasons so powerful, though. Is like you said, it had a through line. It had Kripke had a start, a middle, and an end. And he was like, this is the story I'm going to tell. And like, I'm glad we got the next 10 seasons, but you definitely, like, you could feel it from 6 onwards that they didn't have that foundation anymore.
It felt like they were kind of flying from the seat of their pants after season 5.
Yeah. And then every season's got to be a bigger big bad and a bigger and a big, and like, it just got absurd. But I've thought about it more, and I've remembered the season 12 has that scene with Mick and Ketch, and it's definitely 12 that I'm booting out.
Okay.
I really hated that.
Okay. That's
really
understandable. Yeah. That's understandable.
Yeah. What have you decided, Sandra?
13. Season 13.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
The return of, or the beginning of Jack.
Yeah, and I've talked about this. Well, I've talked about this. I kind of feel like they, when a show's gone on for a really long time, I understand why they did it, but I feel like bringing the new, like the new kid in, like having that sort of like that new blood. Not that I ended up disliking Alex and Jack altogether, as as Jack, I did grow to appreciate him, but I also didn't really like Apocalypse, like the apocalypse stuff that was kind of going on in that season and different
Oh,
things like
yeah.
that. It just, that was when I think they were bringing, like, that was like, yeah, a lot of it was Mary and Jack.
It was jump the
in
sharkish.
apocalypse. It was very jump the sharkish for me. Like they did it, I think jokingly, they had the title in season 4, but like by season 13, I felt that, that was kind of it. And there's also that one scene too, Kasey, where, Sam is killed in Apocalypse World.
I couldn't remember if that was 13 or 14.
Yeah. And then Dean
just fucking
I don't
leaves.
know, Alex, how you think about that,
Leaves his
but
body.
that does not seem authentic. We do not
Nope.
think that's an authentic, like, Dean, move. Like, I just think he would have gone in there, like, he just wouldn't have, like,
Wild
Cass
horses wouldn't have been able to drag
Cass
him
wouldn't have
away.
been able to hold him back. He would have gone in. I just felt like it was a little too quick of a, okay, because we have to get to this next part, because we have to get to Mary, like that kind of thing. So there's a couple things in that, and they also never brought back Crowley after season 12, and he's one of my favorite characters. And so to not see him again, those kind of things, I think that's when I started to feel, they might be pushing it. So yeah, season 13, I think if I had to give one away, because I'm trying to think, I mean, season 9, I couldn't, because Dean is so hot in that season. I could never give that away for any reason, shape, or form. That
Honestly,
would be that's
was
one of my
pretty
favorite.
strong in my opinion.
Yeah, it was a good one
I
too,
agree.
but he was like,
that one kind of brought me back when I
Yeah.
was starting to be like, all right, what's happening here?
yeah.
Oh yeah, no, my issue only is like pick one. Not like there's anything wrong with 9 or there's anything wrong with 10. Just
Yeah.
the storyline shouldn't have carried on over both. Pick one. Alex, did you commit to a season that you were going to remove?
To toss out? Yeah. I would say 15 actually.
Okay.
15,
Yeah.
that's your commit. Yeah.
Because there were parts of it that I was really struggling to get through, just as a writer, as somebody who like understands story. I'm just like, why are you doing this?
Did you also feel
You mean you didn't enjoy the monster of the week flashback episode 4 episodes before the end of the show? You mean that
Oh my
wasn't, you weren't
God.
like,
I mean,
oh my God, I just
when
fucking
they
need
did
this.
when they did the whole, oh, we've lost our luck. What the fuck?
Oh, that was funny. I like that episode. That was funny.
But I think
Really?
but I think
felt like
the one thing I was gonna
It was
ask
weird. I agree.
is too, like, did you feel that just Dean wasn't Dean for a lot of that season? Because I kind of questioned, and I think when they threw God and his writing and everything into it,
yes.
I just
the whole
did not
God thing.
understand.
I didn't like how they made him a villain, to be honest with you. I didn't like how. I agree. I think that whole season 15, the overarching God being the antagonist, and they don't have free will, and all of this stuff. Like it's the antithesis of the show, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's just trying to make it bigger and bigger and bigger, to get to an ultimate end. But I'm like, the whole point of the show is that these brothers are continuing to fight the good fight, and their choices sometimes lead to their downfall, but they're ultimately making those choices often for the right reasons, or maybe for the wrong reasons, but in order to save people. So they I think they got away from that with that whole God storyline, in my opinion. As much as I love Rob, it's not on him. I think it's on the writers, honestly.
Yeah,
And
I
the
think he
way,
did a good job of making you dislike him. You really don't like him
Oh, yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
We just did an episode on God and Chuck, and
'Cause
like
I loved him when he
fun.
first came in. Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
he
me
was a
too.
great
I
character.
thought it was great the way they initially brought him in, and I'm like, yes, he's an absent dad. Like
Yeah.
that makes perfect sense for the show.
Yeah,
and then I said it in the episode we just recorded last week.
They made him a whiny villain, and I'm like, oh, come on now.
But doesn't it leave you questioning? Because they were like, oh, it's all been Chuck all along. So now when you go back and you go, what about this plot hole? And what about this plot hole? And what about that? And they could just go, oh, it was Chuck. And I hate that so much, because you can't.
It feels like a cop out.
Yeah, and you can't say anything solidly. You can't be like, this is this, because you're like, oh, what if it was Chuck though? And also, he pulled a gun on Sam in 15. That wouldn't
yeah, that was a hard one. That was hard
That was
to
a
see.
hard episode.
Yeah.
Oh, and poor Aileen in the middle of it.
I know.
I loved her though. She is the only bright spot of season 15 for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sam finally gets
one of the
love.
only ones.
Yeah.
Sam finally getting, and why couldn't Dean have some happiness too? That there's so
Yes.
many things, guys, that I rant
Yeah.
about with season 15.
Dean got a dog. Sam got a woman and a life, and Dean got a dog. That's
and
tragic.
then got dead. Like, thank you. That's for the fans. That's
got
for
a dog
you.
and it got dead. Oh goodness.
That's what we're gonna call this episode. And then got dead.
and then got dead.
Oh,
got
goodness.
dead.
Oh,
I love that.
Oh. So what other favorite characters do you have besides Sam and Dean? Like if you had to pick a couple that like, you absolutely love.
Bobby.
Oh, yay. Yeah.
Good
We
choice.
love
Bobby. Charlie, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Crowley.
Uh-huh. Do you like Rowena?
Yes, I do like Rowena.
Okay.
Yeah, but I saw an interview recently where who was talking? Oh God, his real name. Why am I blanking? Crowley.
Mark Shepard.
Crowley. Mark. Oh my God. How did I forget you, Mark? I'm so sorry. Mark was talking about. He was talking to Michael Rosenbaum on his podcast.
Okay.
Inside of You.
Mm-hmm.
And Mark was saying, like, why did they make her my mother? Would have made way more sense if she had been my ex-wife. And I was like, oh my God. It unlocked something in my brain. I was like, that would have been amazing.
That would have been so good, though.
Oh,
right? Oh,
yeah.
the quips they would have had.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All the Britishisms that they would have had against each other. Like, that would have been amazing.
Oh.
But, they made it work because they're phenomenal actors.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it worked overall, but yeah, I love Rowena. I think she's such an interesting character, and how she manages to like turn around into what I did like is that they didn't give her such a redemption that she made it to heaven, because obviously she's not going to make it to heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, definitely.
But to make her the queen of hell, I thought
Yeah.
was an interesting twist.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Taking over her son's mantle in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that one step ahead thing that Crowley got from her, I think was very apparent in that once it's revealed, that she probably knew where this was going and what she was going to be able to do once she got there. So that was pretty impressive. She's one of our favorites too on the show.
She is, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I wanted to go back to the whole fan fiction part, because we were talking about that you had been writing some stuff prior to Supernatural, and you said you were on fanfiction.net. So how far back are we talking? Like, was it around high school time when you were writing, a little bit before? Like what kind of like brought you into the whole fan fiction part of it, that then you maybe knew where to go for Supernatural once you got it in your brain?
Yeah, I started writing at a young age. I would say middle school age. I started reading a lot of fan fiction, and then slowly developed the courage to start putting out my own stuff. I would say 2008, 2009, around there. Okay. Some stuff I've since deleted because it was so damn bad that I was like, I can't in good conscience let this exist. But I actually recently went back. I was like, how far was it that I started writing? And I was like, yeah, around 2008, 2009. And I think I started high school 2010. So yeah, probably middle school age. And then, of course it was horrible. It was horrible. And, but as a writer, you learn and grow. Mm-hmm. And as I just developed more, reading more, learning more, experiencing more, mm-hmm. you develop your frame of reference, you develop your writing style, you sharpen your mechanics and mm-hmm. your understanding of story. Mm-hmm. And I think I started with like Chronicles of Narnia. Okay. Fandom. That's how young I was. Okay. That's how I was a little youngin'. Yeah. And then, when like Once Upon a Time. Okay. Was another influential one. Mm-hmm. And then, Supernatural early on. And then, I've written for a lot of different fandoms. I would see MCU. I've written for anime. I've written for what else? Yeah, different like side fandoms of characters mm-hmm. or of actors that I like. And so, but I ended up coming back to Supernatural fairly recently.
Okay.
It wasn't until like, and I hadn't experienced Tumblr. I consider myself very much a late bloomer when it comes to Tumblr. Because I didn't really knew it existed until like a few years ago, but I wasn't very active on it until I would say last year. Early last year is when I was like starting to like dip the toe back in. I think because I was writing a story for the boys. I was writing a Butcher OC story.
Okay.
And I was starting to post it. And I was starting to post it on Tumblr as well. And I was like, huh. There's a lot of supernatural stuff on Tumblr. And I was starting to, that's right, because I was watching the last season and it sparked, the brain rot. And I was like, okay. And so, I don't know, the second I started writing for Supernatural again, it was just like such an embrace from the Tumblr fandom world that I was like, ooh, I caught the bug essentially.
Okay.
Of Tumblr at that point, like early 2003. And I started I had never written like reader stories, reader-centric stories. I was always a original character writer. But I noticed on Tumblr but I noticed that on Tumblr, original characters don't do very well. It's more of an archive of our own thing, where original characters are celebrated more. So I figured out how to write the self-insert or the reader-insert. I don't like to call it self-insert because I write reader characters like original characters in all other aspects, except for that their physical description's not often described. Unless it's very like a specific thing, like I'm writing for the Midnight Espresso series, where that's like a Latina plus size reader. So that one's more specific. But, when it's general reader, I approach it the same way, almost.
It's interesting. I noticed too, being that and Kasey had started with a lot of reader insert as well, but I noticed too that it's kind of harder, again, like when you get into like ships and pairings, there's, really a lot of them. And so then I found more reader insert embrace on Tumblr too. And it's interesting the way they kind of offshoot, depending on where you're at. But yeah, Tumblr's a very, I think, accepting and just like, yes, give me all the reader insert kind of stuff. I feel like that happens. That happens a lot.
I feel like they want to experience it more as themselves than imagining a character going through it. And I'm like, okay. Yeah. And I understood that when I started like reading more reader insert fiction. And I was like, okay, I get the concept behind this. I can get behind this. And so, but the only thing for me is that I don't like YN, your name.
We don't
either, I don't use
You're
it.
among friends.
Yeah.
Thank you. It takes me out of the story. I don't like it. So even when I'm writing a reader insert in second person, I don't ever mention YN. I find a way to write around it.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. It leads to a lot of fun times with thesauruses going,
nicknames, endearments, different things like that.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
You can usually get around it. You can get around it. We have
you write things in description rather than dialogue sometimes. And
we have an old friend, Dandelion Dreaming, who wrote the Rookie series, and it was a YN. And I think that was one of my first experiences of reading a reader insert that kind of just used a nickname, and then that kind of like became, it was easier, you could just kind of like fall into it a lot more, and you didn't have to see like YN, just, I mean, some people really like that. I know that I was always like, when I first started reading it, I was like, what does YN mean? And then I had to look it up. I was like, I don't understand. What is this? I'm like, oh, your name. Okay. And then I kind of got it. Yeah. Have you ever had anybody, Alex, like ask you in particular, like, could you write a story with YN in it? Like, have you ever gotten a request like that? Or are people pretty much like, this is how you do reader insert, and we're kind of on board?
No, what's funny is I've never gotten that request. And, I don't begrudge people who do like YN. I mean, to each their own. It's like ship, let ship, YN, let YN.
Yeah.
But
That's another good title.
Yeah. But for me personally, for me as a reader, it just takes me out of it. And so for me as a writer, it would also take me out of it. So, and I think there's actually a very, what's now become like a TV show and everything. The book is called You. And it's written from the perspective of a serial killer. It was the first book that I saw in second person that I was like, ooh, I see the power of writing in second person.
Yeah, because that's not that doesn't happen often in like original fiction. Yeah.
No, and so that's what made it so unique, and it got to be on a streaming service. Like they made a show out of it and everything. But yeah, when did I read that book? Oh yeah, I had to read that for my master's. But
is it a good book? Would you recommend it?
I would recommend it. It's kind of it fucks with your mind because it makes you start to root for the serial killer.
Oh. Because
of the way that the object of his desires is so unlikable. Like it's like, why are you into this girl? She's so annoying. She's not a good person. And so you find yourself going like, it fucks with your mind. I'm telling you. So
right, okay. So like most of my brain is going give. But the reasonable let's stay alive part of my brain is going, can we just fucking look at some shit first? Can we just read some reviews? Maybe. But the majority part of my brain that goes, ooh, shiny Gib is going to win that argument.
I actually think that show is produced by Sarah Gamble. Is
it really?
I think so.
Oh, funny.
Yeah. I think I remember hearing that. I think she's one of the producers of it. So that's interesting. If I could find it and don't have to like up my streaming service for anything just to get to watch it, I'll have to see if I can like look into it a little bit more.
I'll send it to you. Don't even worry about that. Let me amend my question just in a brief bid to help the quiet part of my brain live. As someone who is an enormous serial killer buff, am I going to be pissed about the mechanics? Like, am I going to be like, oh my god, death doesn't work like that, or am I going to be okay?
No, I think you'll be fine.
Okay. The quiet part of my brain does not like you right now because he's like, no, you were supposed to help. No, you were supposed to say it would be really bad.
Yeah, I haven't read it in a few years. Like, I don't think I would have picked it up if it had not been required reading.
Okay.
Because that's just not my typical thing. But I thought it was very interesting, and I was very like surprised with myself the way I reacted to certain characters.
Oh, that's cool. No, I love a good like mind fuck book. I'm a huge fan of that. So.
Well, it's definitely that. So if you're into that, it is the book for you. I would recommend.
Thank you very much. No, I'm definitely gonna pick that up. And I'm also thinking,
you're welcome.
I didn't go to college, but I'm also thinking I got fucking gypped because I had to read shit like fucking Oscar Wilde and stuff, and I'm like, oh, dude, it's cool. The books.
Oh,
the schools
get to read
read like.
Don't worry.
Oh, okay. All right, I feel better now.
Well, because it was that was
get to read good books now. Do you know how long I spent on the picture of Dorian Gray? Do you know how much I hate that book? Really?
Oh God, yeah, that and like the Scarlet Letter and all that bullshit. No,
I remember that.
Yeah, for my English degree, definitely had to read a lot of classics like that were like dry, hard to get through. But like, my master's was fun because I got to read a lot of stuff that I would never have even heard of if not for the professors. Cool. Like it was, the degree wasn't your typical. It wasn't an English degree for the master's. It was popular fiction writing and publishing. So, it was a lot of different stuff. Like I got to study mythology. Took a mythology course. I took a sci-fi and fantasy course. Yeah, a lot of fun stuff there. Redemptive storytelling.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
Do you feel a little bit gypped for your school experience now, Sandra? Like, fucking kids get to
I know. I remember the Scarlet Letter.
Shakespeare and
I remember a lot of Shakespeare.
But I love Shakespeare.
I like Shakespeare too, but I like I'm more like I don't know, I was like, Romeo and Juliet, like, that kind of stuff.
I'm an uncultured swine.
But even like
The Tempest.
Yeah, but like for me,
What You Do About Nothing.
I didn't do well. Like English, I had teachers that, in high school, they expected a certain answer, and if you didn't have that answer, it kind of was like, okay. So I didn't really, my kind of writing.
They want you to read their mind.
Yeah. And the kind of writing that I like to do, like, was a little bit of like, I did do fan fiction and stuff, but I just didn't get into all of the new, like I couldn't pull out what they were saying I was supposed to be seeing. And sometimes that kind of just maybe like, well, what's the point? And so I think I had to like get back into, reading and writing for my own self, my own pleasure, and doing that sort of thing. So you're getting your degree. Were you writing fan fiction during that time just for like fun, or for like another way to like, maybe if you had to get out of schoolwork, or did you really kind of just hunker down during that time and just focused on schoolwork and not the other stuff?
Oh, girl, I had no time. Like when I tell you, I was reading and writing all the time for my degree, but I was also at the time working for, because the way that program worked was your thesis was your original manuscript.
Oh, okay.
So I was working on a novel while all through working on that degree, but also my full-time job, I was also writing full-time as a content marketer.
That's awesome though. My gosh, you're so busy and you have such vast experience then in all these different areas. That's awesome.
Oh, thank you. I mean, yeah, it definitely, like, the more experience you have, the better you can put into your writing, right? The bigger your frame of reference, the more that you can do as a writer.
Gotcha.
Like my mom is also a writer. She's also a writer editor.
Okay.
She's more of a journalist, but she also does creative writing as well. And she told me early on, like, good readers make good writers. So, the more that you read, the more that you take in, the more that you study, the better writer that you'll be. And so I really took that to heart. And so as I tried to find avenues to apply myself as in my craft thing, I wanted to apply what I was doing in school and try to apply it in a career. And so I tried a lot of avenues in order to figure that out. But at the time, I was exhausted. I was burning out, quite frankly, because my degree took like 2 years. And I think I only did 1 year at that company, and then COVID hit.
Oh.
So with the writing then, you said original, you don't have to like delve into too much, but so you had to do an original manuscript. Did you ever get that published, or is it something that you're still working on and still kind of tweaking, or was that just like part of the school process?
So I'm actually still working on it. I'm like 60% finished. It's like if I ever stop writing fan fiction, then I'll finish it.
I feel
because
that.
I took a break.
Yes.
Yeah, I had to take a break from it because I had been working on it for like 2 or 3 years straight, through the program. And it was getting writing workshopped every semester. So I was like, I can't look at these words. I can't look at these characters anymore. Even though I have so much left on my outline, I have to pause. And so, that's when I started getting onto Tumblr.
Okay.
And, being more active there. And then I caught the bug, and then I couldn't stop. I quite literally couldn't stop. I think I spent about a year not writing anything just because of how crazy COVID time was and how much I was going through in my personal life. But coming to Tumblr was actually, and like, starting to actually engage with people who were gracious and kind enough to leave feedback on my work, that buoyed me in such a way. It really got me through that year. Yeah. 20 after post-COVID things, and I had my grandmother passed away, and my great uncle passed away the year after. Thank you. And so, writing fan fiction not only was like escapism, but it was also like, you do know what you're doing. People do enjoy what you're doing. Yeah. Keep doing it. Yeah. Yeah. And I kind of fell back in love with writing. And with fan fiction in general.
Yeah, I think that's I know for us, we always say you want to write for yourself first, but fan fiction really gives you the unique opportunity to just put your stuff out there. It doesn't have to be polished, whatever your version of it is. Like if it's done, and you want to share it, you share it. And then you can get that feedback that really just, makes you feel like, okay, I did a thing that affected somebody felt this, and either they were like wanted to wring your neck about it, or they're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for the next part kind of a situation. So
sometimes both.
Sometimes both, so I think that's
it's more powerful than drugs, honestly, for me. Like,
yeah, it really
it's such a powerful,
Mhm.
beautiful feeling.
Mhm.
When somebody lets you know how they felt, that it touched them in some way other than entertainment.
Yeah.
I got a couple of really nice messages recently from a couple people, and I was like, wow. So yeah, it's that feeling that's really, it's kept me on Tumblr, basically. So I was like, I could have been finished with my novel a long time ago if you guys weren't so damn nice.
I have like stops because I get the feeling that, I've just read a few of your things, but I get a very big romancy vibe feel, and kind of like a little bit of thriller stuff, but I write romance novels, and I did that, but like the last romance novel I did was based off of like basically like a cowboy version, not a cowboy version, but cowboy-esque version of Dean. And I haven't written anything for like 2 years because I'm just like, but this is so immediate, and people are interested, and they want to, like that kind of thing. You get this adrenaline.
It's that instant gratification.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
So fanfic tropes that you like to write, because I know you do a lot of reader insert. You have done some, OCs too. Am I wrong in that it's pretty much like a romance kind of I've seen some mystery and stuff like that. But yeah, so what fanfic tropes do you tend to like gravitate towards? Like, are you friends to lovers, enemies to lovers? Like what kind of gets your juices flowing that you want to write about? I'm going to say Dean most of the time.
Mostly Dean. He's been my current obsession for about, coming back to him basically.
Yeah.
He's a very inspiring character though.
Yes.
He really is. And, Jensen, his characters are just so compelling that it leads me to do, Soldier Boy and other things. So, but as far as tropes, I've kind of done it all. I mean, I've done friends to lovers many times. I love a meet cute. I love, I've done an enemies to lovers. A lot of people know me for this Soldier Boy series called Break Me Down.
Okay.
And that was enemies to lovers.
Okay.
It was actually the first time I ever wrote enemies to lovers.
Okay.
But that one just came together in such a way that I was like, ooh, I like this. I like this friction. But yeah, with supernatural and stuff like that, it's often friends to lovers, hunters to lovers. It's often
hunters to lovers is a good one. I mean, you clearly can't go wrong with the hunters to lovers one. That can be fun.
I agree.
I'm interested in, like, I said to Sandra this week, I was like, I'm not going to be able to read all of Smokey before Saturday, but I'm definitely going to read some of it. And I'm real sorry. Real life has kicked my ass this week real hard. So I haven't.
No, not at all.
But actually, I'm starting to think that I kind of like it that way, because then people come on and we go, what is your favorite thing? What do you want Sandra to narrate? What is your favorite work that you've done? And then I go read that. And that's nice, because then I get to hear like directly from the author, like, I'm the most proudest of this. So I had a quick look through your AO3, and your Soldier Boy fics seem to be, like I said, I'm just looking at the summaries and stuff. Kind of, I noticed that it's Ben more than Soldier Boy, and you seem to be kind of focusing on the humanity of Soldier Boy more than, say, when I wrote Soldier Boy and he was an asshole. Do you kind of like where do you stand with those characters of Jensen's that are maybe not quite so easy to love, maybe, as Dean? Because I know Sandra's talked about writing Soldier Boy and really struggling because she finds him a really irredeemable character.
I haven't done it yet, because it's like I'm doing a bingo now, and I really want to try to write Soldier Boy. But yeah, I'm at the point where it's like, how do I make him redeeming? Because I mean, Jensen does a really good job, and I don't like him very much. I kind of don't. So yeah, I think that's a great question.
I completely understand, and realistically, you're not supposed to like him. But that's literally what sparked my imagination. I was like, because I love a good redemptive story, and so I said, or I was telling myself, I was like, how could a plausible, realistic, redemptive storyline work for this character? What could be done to break him down enough to get to the meat of him, to the heart of him? And so that's where that Break Me Down story came from.
Okay.
And I had a loose concept based on, a one shot that I had done, and I credit this to her many times, but Dean Spinster Witch, she commented, she was like, I would love to see a prequel to this. And it was with the premise of that he had at the end of season 3, he had somehow managed to blast Homelander, and Homelander was dead at that point, and so now Soldier Boy was on the run. Okay.
Yeah.
So now it's the Butcher and team trying to find him. So it basically stemmed from that loose idea, and that the Reader was working for Soup Affairs, that she was on the surveillance team, but she had her own past as well. And so it kind of that's where the enemies to lovers came in, and so it became this very long-winded story.
That sounds great, though.
It took a lot out of me to write, but I was like, okay, how do you turn this asshole? He's literally the original asshole.
Right.
He is the
Absolutely.
Captain America of
He
soups.
is the original asshole because
Yes. Literally stemming back from the 40s. He's the first soup they ever unveiled. And so he is arrogance personified, and he's misogynistic, and he's all these horrific things. But at the center of him, it's a desire to be loved. It's a desire to want to be seen as what he believes a man should be. Okay, so how do you unravel those threads?
Yes, because that's the thing.
Yeah,
it's that.
So
that
I'm trying to
school.
unravel. Yeah. And but I thought of, okay, who's a similar character archetype? So you've got the John Winchester. You've got the John Wayne. It's the very don't show weakness, stoic kind of man's man.
Right.
Yeah.
But my weakness is men like that have like that if you're able to penetrate their armor, they do have a soft heart. That's kind of where I saw Dean in him a little bit.
Yeah.
And so that's how I kind of accessed Soldier Boy, was like, and we didn't get to see him for very long. That was also part of the problem, I think, that you kind of have to fill in your own mental gaps with him in his past. But that kind of, for me, it became the key to unlocking, how do you unravel him? How do you humanize him?
Yeah, there's a lot of surface.
He had a desire for family.
Yeah,
he had a desire for family, a desire to, have relationships, even though he couldn't maintain them or, took them for granted. And so, and I read a book that kind of further, it dug into the psychology of the characters of the boys. It's called Soups Ain't Always Heroes.
Okay. I've heard of that.
Yeah, I reviewed it and I dug into it. My review is on my Tumblr page. But it got into Soldier Boy's archetype as well, and his personality and his weaknesses, and that it kind of confirmed everything that I thought about him inherently. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm on the right track.
Okay. No, that's
so cool.
So that's
really
a long-winded way of saying that I wanted to try and find the humanity of him in some way.
He's I guess for me, and I think it'll be an interesting experiment, because I think trying to break him down, again, great title, Break Me Down. Trying to break him down into figuring out, how do you get through that, all of that other stuff, and see what is redeeming. So is your character, the Reader character, I'm assuming that character also has things that she has to overcome and different things like that, and probably isn't. I mean, I would assume it's not a Mary Jane character. Like, there's a lot of layers that are going on with that character as well. So if they're butting heads already, there's probably a lot of stuff that, she's got to go through too. And so I would imagine the foil, them like wrapping around each other would be interesting. No, that's great. No, I'm glad you had the, you're like, I'm going to take this on, because I'm still like, I don't know if I want to yet. Because
it's daunting. Let me tell you, it took me 20 chapters to, to tell that story.
Yeah. Yeah. Because Dean is Dean's a different character, right? Like, I mean, Dean at the core of it, you get all of that.
He wishes he was Dean.
Yeah.
He wishes he was as naturally, actually heroic
and loving, right? Like, at the end of the day,
self-sacrificial as Dean.
There's a lot of love there that I think you see right away. Like, even if it's not, he wants to give it away, you see it. I don't think you see it right away, or for a while with Ben, Soldier Boy. So that's interesting. It's interesting that you're
because Dean is unselfish,
Mhm.
whereas Soldier Boy is selfishness personified.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a lot to try and there are a lot of people who write Ben as he is, or write Soldier Boy rather, as he is, like at his height of fame and the 40s and 80s and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them do a good job, but it takes it. I don't know. It's hard for me to get into those because he's so the way he is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They really just focus on his raw sexuality, I guess,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
his dangerousness.
Mm-hmm. Which is there's a
but
time and place for that too.
Oh yeah, absolutely, I agree. But for me, I'm a sap. I'm a hopeless romantic sap. So I need to, like, my heartstrings need to be tugged.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to reading any character, really. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm
a long-winded way of
huge
saying
fan.
that. Sorry.
No.
No, I'm a huge fan of the concept of taking a character and going, what if it just bends a little though?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's this.
Yeah.
But what do I have to move, tweak, shift, like manipulate to make it something? And I love going on that journey with an author where they go, okay, this is where we start and it sucks. And let's go on this journey and let's move it and let's see. I really, really like that. But I've seen a few authors kind of try and play with Soldier Boy, like, as you say, as he is, and acknowledge that he's not going to be sweet and nice and, kind of try and roll with that. Mm-hmm. And then I've seen people that really take it out of character and make him this really sappy, sweet. And I'm like, oh, that's taken away like half of the fun of the character,
Exactly. He's no longer himself at that point. So you can't go all the way. So that's why, like, it's hard for me to write him sometimes, and because it is a balance. It's like, how do you keep him himself, but also show growth?
Yeah. Yeah. I absolutely. I kept him mostly himself. I only wrote one thing, and it was fucking hard. It was really hard. And also, like, for him to be himself, Dean had to be not himself, and Dean won the argument. Dean was like, nope. We're gonna fucking happy ending this, bitch. We're not doing this. And I was like, all right, fine, I guess. But yeah, no, it was difficult. So to see your works that were like really long, lengthy stories, I was like, holy fucking, how did you do that? I spent like 3K words with him, and I was like, I feel icky. I don't want to do this anymore.
I feel you. There were parts that were tough to write. I'm not gonna lie to you. Parts of that story, like, and the reader fights with him a lot. She takes him to task a lot. But that's part of the fun with them too, with their dynamic, is that for as intensely as they argue, there is an undercurrent of, like, or hopefully what I tried to do was the, undercurrent of attraction and seeing a kindred spirit in some way. And so that helped them find some common ground. But there was a lot of the nature of their relationship is always back and forth.
Yeah.
And so that was fun for me. That was where I was like, okay, now I can figure this out.
Yeah. What if it just bends a little?
Because she doesn't allow him to be his asshole self. She takes him to task a lot.
I love that. Did that help or put you off even more, Sandra?
No, I think, see, that's the thing. Like, I think, I think the way you guys are talking, like, you've either got to commit to showing him at his worst, or put the time in to show the change. Like, I don't think you can do that in, a short story unless you've already said, but these are all the things that have happened to him that got him there. So I think it's hard to hand wave him into being this soft, squishy person, right? You just can't, like, it. You're like, but wait, I know this character. I read some things and I'm like, I don't think he would do that. I really don't. I don't think he would say that. I don't think he would do that. Yeah.
Unless, you've built the work in of, like, okay, this is an established thing. Like you said, you outline, okay, XYZ has already happened, which is like, People are not
Yeah.
usually doing that. So
yeah.
I agree with you. I think it's an either or situation in order to tell him authentically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean, it's interesting too. Like Casey's one shot, and then yours. It kind of shows. I think when you take it.
I'll have to read your one shot, Kasey.
Now, with the one shot, do you want to, Kasey? What's the one shot?
It's it's male. It's Dean, Soldier Boy. So
okay.
Yeah.
Like fair warning on that one. I'm not.
It's really good, but yeah. But
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I think with him, he's just he's so prickly, and it's just like he's just really, really.
But he's also
nice.
Charming.
Yeah.
That's the problem with him.
He is. Yeah.
And because we only got that one season where he was like, horrifically traumatized and just a complete fucking mess.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with Dean, you can pick a Dean from any place and extrapolate from that, and it's a different Dean. Extrapolating season 1 Dean to season 50, it's totally different.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like you have a lot more creative freedom to be able to go, no, it will totally be like this. Whereas with Soldier Boy, you're very, very limited in the actual background information you have on him and who he is as a person. That I think makes that a lot harder as well.
We really didn't get much screen time with him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of the challenge too, is that not really fully knowing a character the way we know Dean. We've been with him for 15 seasons.
Yeah.
Whereas something like Soldier Boy, or like, there are people, myself included, who are writing stuff about Tracker, with Justin Hartley. Jensen just played his older brother on that show for one episode.
Yeah.
And, we're already writing fan fiction about him.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do that based on one episode.
You get a playground, I think, a little bit more with, I guess, because Soldier Boy is so extreme. I think with a character like that Jensen plays on Track, I think was it Russell Shaw? I think you get a little bit more. Well, he's human.
That's always a good starting place.
That's a good starting place. Then you can kind of fill in the blanks. And again, when I saw that episode, all that episode did was it made me miss Dean so hard. When I saw that character, I was like,
I did see Deanisms.
I was I appreciated what he did, but I got so obsessed. I just want to see Dean again. Like I really did. I was like, I want to see Dean Winchester again on the screen, please and thank you. That's what I want to see.
I feel you.
And then I was like, I just needed to watch an episode of Supernatural after that. I was like, okay. Dean, but he did a really good job. But again, I think I heard somewhere too that he kind of he brought a lot of his Dean to that character, but it just wasn't quite, it just kind of made me miss him even more. Seeing him like that. But it was tough.
I totally feel that.
Yeah. Well, so talking about the way you write and how you interact on Tumblr, I get the vibe that you do a really good job with this sort of serial writing. You get your audience involved. You get them looking forward to the next bit. I was reading, I think I'm about halfway through Smoke Eater, and the way.
Oh, thank you.
Because I downloaded it onto my Kindle to read, and I could see your end chapter notes. You're kind of you're interacting with the reader. You're like, okay, this is what's good. What do we think now? What's happening? What do we think is going to happen next? And then when you start another chapter, sometimes you'll actually give a little refresher, sort of a couple paragraphs in or whatever, in case people maybe forgot where they were. You kind of you put them right back into it, kind of like a recap on a show. In case you forgot, here's the important stuff, and this is what we're getting into right now. So
I need that in my life.
Was that kind of was that intentional, or did you fall into that seeing what other people did on Tumblr? Because I would love to try to do that more. It just seems like a lot, setting things up.
Love attention to detail.
Yeah, and I love your page is very visual, which I like as well. So I feel like you have a nice. You make a point of banners and things, and everything just kind of has a nice cohesive, but still each story is separate. So I know I threw a lot of questions at you, but was that how you approached it when you went to Tumblr, or did you kind of use what you were doing on AO3, or did you feel like they had to be completely different? I guess, do you post to Tumblr first and then AO3? So all of those questions that I have for you.
Yes. Lovely. Love all of them.
Sorry.
So,
I got excited.
No, not at all.
I got excited.
Don't apologize. I love it. I love it. So very intentional. Something about me, I'm a very detail-oriented person. I get lost in the weeds. But as far as as I said, my part of my professional background is also content marketing. So I had an understanding of like how to hook people, how to try to hook people, how to try to keep them invested, how to try to keep them engaged. And one of the biggest pieces of advice I can give to because I've gotten this question before of like, how do you grow your following? How do you increase engagement? Part of that is the navigation, is not just asking for comments and reblogs and praise and whatnot. It's like, no, you have to make sure that the reader's experience is as seamless as possible. So that includes links to the next chapter, to the series master list, to your main master list, all of the relevant links that they would be interested in after reading something that you've written. If they want to explore more content, you got to make it easy for them to do so, or else they're not going to.
Right.
Yeah.
And Tumblr you really have to figure that out, because
you really got to work hard nowadays, because engagement, just across the board, it's dropped I've noticed a difference just from this year to last year. So you really gotta, what were you gonna say?
People are like, I don't want to generalize, like people are getting lazier, because that's not it. But like, we have less attention. So if I can't get to something in like one click, I'm just not going to look. So because
people are so busy.
Yeah, because I do like the website and everything for the Impala, and it's like there's so much overlap, like where you put stuff, because you're like, people need to get that in like 2 clicks or less. I can't just go, it would be so easy to put in the YouTube description, go to idlinginthe-impala.com and everything's there. But that's 2 clicks. And people are like, well, now I have to go to another website. So it's like, you can go to Idling in the Impala, but here are all the links anyway. It's difficult to kind of keep up that mental checklist of, have I included everything? Can people get to the next place without investing too much energy, because they're not going to do that. So, and that is why I don't post on Tumblr, because I don't have the brain space for that. That is why that is.
Well, yeah, you got to be like formatting. Tumblr formatting is very particular. Tagging is very particular. It seems like they change the rules every 2 minutes.
No, I have a person for that.
Yeah, that's the thing. Tagless, using the right tags at the ends of posts to make sure that it's properly optimized. Like, all of those things matter. But as far as just like the little, like the personal engagement things of like, yes, I give a sneak preview, especially if I'm doing a series, to keep people invested, give them a little snapshot of what they're in for.
Right.
And then especially if something very intense has happened in the previous chapter, that's when I will drop that bit of like, previously on Smoke Eater, essentially it's like kind of an italics portion of like, okay, that's where we were, and now here's where we're going, right, diving into the action, back from where we left off. So those kinds of things. And also I let people know, I give writing updates, so I let them know what's coming up, and I give them specific dates of when to look out for them, because it's like marketing 101. If you want people to get excited, let them know what's coming.
Right.
Yep. You would get along so well with my beta. So well. She has lists of Tumblr tags. And not only does she have lists, she could tell you like how many posts are tagged with like Supernatural versus SPN. She has a list, and she'll tell you,
amazing.
Supernatural has so many thousands, tens of thousand posts, but SPN only has, and she's got like fucking lists on lists on lists of just this shit. So I'm like, I'll put up a Tumblr post for the Impala, and I'll be like, can you reblog this with your tags so that I can steal your tags and reblog it again? Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I've told people, look, you need to use the most popular tags that are relevant to your story within your fandom. Like, but also like if it's a reader story, don't tag it OC and vice versa. But use, Tumblr allows you up to 30 tags that will be crawlable by the site. The rest of after that, it's just like for your own Tumblr post or blog organization, but they allow you up to 30 now. It used to be 20 and now I think it's 30. So definitely use that. Not saying you have to over optimize. Don't go over 30 if you don't have to, but you've got room. You've got room to optimize your posts. Like it kills me. I see some really brilliant writers and I'm like, this deserves so much more attention and you would get more eyes on this if you had just used, certain tags,
Alex, I may use you to like look some stuff over then, just to give you some ideas.
Yeah, sure.
Because it's very, and I also wanted to ask, like, how far in advance are you prepping for a story? Because it's great to say coming soon and different things like that, but you got to have the content ready, right?
Yeah.
So like, how soon are you like working on something and making sure you hit this point, before you're like, okay, now I can start my scheduling and different things like that? Because again, that's different than we've talked to a couple people who've like done the scheduling thing, or they've waited until they were done, a story before they post. Do you do that, or do you get yourself sort of like to a comfortable place where you're like, okay, now I can start to, put that out? And do you get interaction from, like, do you use that interactivity to maybe change what's happening? Or are you pretty much set? Like, this is what's going to happen, but does a reader maybe give you some ideas if you're not all the way done with it?
I love that question. So yes, I write ahead. So when I was writing Break Me Down, for example, I wrote the first 5 chapters and then started posting. And so I was writing and posting, but I was writing ahead still. Like I always had 5 chapters in between.
Okay.
And that gave me room to edit before I would post. I am an obsessive rereader editor.
You and my beta need to connect so much.
Yeah.
I'm gonna message her and be like,
sounds like we do.
You need to talk to Zeps guys. Like you guys, like you Tumblr people, your faffers, y'all need to get together. Because she's like that. She's like, I've just made amendments. And I'm like, leave it alone. And she's like, no, I can't. And I'm like,
yeah, sorry. I have like been down to the wire of posting something and I'm still making tweaks. I'm like, it's not good enough. It still needs something. I've literally been like 2 seconds to post before posting, be like, just leave it alone. Do it. Post it.
But that sounds like Dreamer.
I agonize over things because I'm just like, I guess I'm a perfectionist. I guess that's what it is. But in a self-deprecating way, I'm like, God, just post it. It's fine. But I don't want it to be fine. I want it to be whatever. So, but all of that said, like, to give me time for editing and to let something breathe, because you never want to post a rough draft. That's just not it. So my mom used to call that the throw up draft. So, yes, it sounds like I need to connect with your beta, Kasey. But
yes, I will put you in touch. You'll get along like hardcore. I'm a throw up poster. I'm like, I'll work on it, and when I hate it, it's done.
No, that's
and
not
off you
true.
fuck.
That's
there you
not
go.
True. But that's not true though. Like they definitely they do not do that. They think they do, but no, you do not do that, Kasey. That doesn't.
No, I do.
Happen. No.
What happens is I work on it until I'm fucking hate it, and then I give it to Dreamer, and I'm like, can you put some commas in this shit? And then she comes along and she's like, I don't know why you haven't mastered the comma, and I'm like, because it's fucking. She doesn't do that. She doesn't do that. I'm exaggerating for comedic effect. Her patience for my commas is endless and admirable, and I love it. And then she comes along and she's like, see, y'all, you'll get along. And she comes and she betas it, and then she'll go, you need to expand on this, or this is, but like it's in a beta sense. And then when she's come and put all my commas in the right place, and I've put all the words in that she says that need to be there, then it fucks off, and then I'm done with it, and I never look at it again.
She says there needs to be there.
I know, right? No, when we first started working together, because we were friends before we started working together as author and Bayer, and she would leave comments that were like, "You need a comma here because," and she would explain herself. And some of these I've picked up, but some of them I'm like, I just don't fucking understand. So we don't even do that.
And now
anymore.
she doesn't bother.
She just makes suggestions in the Google Doc, and I don't like. I'm gonna be frank with you. If it's just like a piece of punctuation, I don't even look at it. I'm just like, yes.
Well, it's nice when you know somebody's going to take care of it too. Like that helps, too.
Yeah,
do you
there needs
have
to
a
be
beta,
trust there,
Alex, or do you do it all yourself?
No, I do it all myself.
Okay.
My problem is I have trust issues.
Gotcha. Sweetie, spend some time with me, because Sandra and Dreamer used to be like fic hoarders, and they'd be like, no one can see it until it's finished. And I just nagged them, and I was like, let me look at it. 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 And now I'm in all the Google Docs going, oh my God, this is amazing. Spend some time with me. I'll get you right out of that.
I love that. No, it'd probably be good for me. It'd probably be good to stretch myself a little bit. But yeah, like nowadays, like I used to start a series, like I would, write a little bit ahead, but now I feel like I have to write the whole thing before I start posting, because I just like that freedom, giving it a breather before I start posting. Or like, and to one of your earlier questions, yes, I have used comments and feedback from lovely people, and I have incorporated some of their ideas, and that gives me the time to do that. Because let's say, I always say in writing, nothing is ever fixed in stone when it comes to the editing process. Like I always start with an outline. As long as I have the blueprint, the doors and windows can move. But as long as I have the supports, then I can fix the outward trappings or whatever. Right. So yeah, literally they've given me ideas for sequels. They've given me ideas for, plot twists that I've later been able to do and to incorporate, or, little details here and there. And
they must love that.
Sometimes
I know Easter eggs, right? Like little Easter eggs. That they
little Easter eggs. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And sometimes it has nothing to do with the plot, or not that it has nothing to do with the plot, but it has nothing to do with the overall pushing the narrative forward. It's just a fun little thing for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
That it was an idea that they came up with, that I liked it. And I was like, oh, hell yeah.
Nice.
I love that. I go completely the other way with that. People, I like you said, I vomit all over the page, and then Dreamer comes in and is like, oh, I can put this into some kind of order, and then I go and I'm done with it, and it goes off to AO3, and then it's done. And then people come to the comments and like, oh my God, this and this, and there are a lot of my reply comments that go, if I tell you that was intentional, will you believe me?
Oh yeah, I've definitely taken credit for things that they were like, oh, did you intend that? Of course I did.
Yes, absolutely. And you're looking at it going, how did I not fucking see that? What the hell?
And you're like, wow, I'm brilliant.
Yeah, you just sat there just quietly congratulating, fucking genius. I'm a goddamn genius. And then like you'll post something else and you'll be like, why have I done this? Like, yep. No,
I know. Yeah. And then, the next minute I'm like, God, what were you thinking?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think it's nice though to have those. I mean, as a writer, I think we all probably experience that, having those wonderful aha moments, like when you're writing something, you're like, oh, and you kind of like, you see something that you've been working on.
For sure.
And then there's something there and you're like, oh, okay, there's a thing here that I should probably explore. So they're fun surprises. With
no, you need to stop doing that.
I know I will after this last one.
Just one more.
After this last one that was only supposed to be a one shot, I am going to stop doing that.
I'm kidding. You shouldn't. Sandra is the mistress, however you prefer it, of just like, she lays all these little threads down, but you don't notice them. And then at the end, she just wraps it all up in one fist and yanks, and it all comes together perfectly. And you're like, fucking what?
Aww.
And then
God, I love that.
Go right back to the beginning going, oh my, and it was that, and I'm fucking, am I blind? Why did no one tell me I couldn't read? Because it's just, it's so good. It's so good. You've done it in your fanfic, and you did it in Cowboy Cancer as well, which is Sandra's original fiction, which is Nobody Come After Me.
I need to read that.
It's the only one of Sandra's original fictions that I've read.
That's fine.
And it's not my fault.
That's
I
okay.
own all of them. I bought and paid for all of them, so I supported my buddy. But I've only read Cowboy Cancer.
And romance, I mean, like, romance isn't, fan fiction has its own little niche of like romantic stuff, and I feel like I kind of like, I lean into that a lot. So it kind of just, when fanfic happens that way for me, that's what I do. I go, full on into it. And I like to weave little things in there, but it's the,
So
you know, it's that romance.
Past due. You left me like, oh.
You might like that one, Alex. You might like that one,
Yeah?
Brittany. Yeah, I love that you
Ooh.
commented on the Iceman comment. Thank you. That was
I was going to mention that because I was like, why have I never delved into her actual writing?
probably
Like, let
because
me
you
do
can't
this.
find me on Tumblr.
Yeah, you're
It's
more
okay.
on AO3. And I was like, oh my God, she has all this amazing stuff. Let me at least, and I think I got a notice. Oh, that's what it was. I got a notification because I have you on my subscribed. So I was like, ooh, this looks interesting. And it was so good. I was like, oh my God, she's so good. I need to
Right?
read more of her.
Right.
I need to be
Right.
so yeah, I'm going to put your book on my TBR.
Aw,
and I'm
thank
going
you.
to
That's sweet.
definitely read more of your stuff
That's sweet.
You will.
because I love a good, juicy, complex plot. So I saw some of your longer series. I'm like, ooh, some stuff to delve into.
Yeah, I have some stuff I still
Seriously.
need to finish, but yeah, that's the goal too.
From everything you've said here, Alex, you will love Cowboy Canter. And if you're anything like me, you will get to the climax of the book going, fucking what? I didn't see that. God damn.
Hell yeah. I love a cowboy. I'm not going to lie. Like, I'm very
He
excited
wears-
for that.
Wears a
I've been
cowboy
watching
hat a lot of the
Yellowstone.
time. A lot of them
Ooh,
boots and stuff.
love it.
I
There's
didn't want a
fucking
full on
fun.
cowboy. Like, you know, I wanted a cowboy vibe, you know, so it's like
Cowboy vibe.
And I pretty much it's like
There's a hat.
It's Dean / Jensen, you know, let's put it that way. It's like
Yes.
that was
I love it.
that was my inspiration for him. So
But
Say
also-
no more.
Also, Past Due.
Already hooked.
Past Due.
Okay.
Yep. Past
making
Due was
mental
another
notes.
one. Another one that made me go, fucking what? What?
Yeah, I've got so much to catch up on with your stuff now too. Break Me Down, really. I was you've got me sold on giving Break Me Down a try with Soldier Boy. So
Oh, thank you. I
I
appreciate
really-
it. Look, I tried my best.
yeah. I really enjoyed narrating Midnight Espresso, even though I bought like the language, but you were
you
sweet.
did good.
I had to listen on Google. I was like, how do I
Is
say
that,
this?
is
And
that
I
the
thought
one
I
where
was
you
like,
Go ahead.
is that
Sorry,
the
go
one you
ahead.
messaged me where you were like, I have to speak in is it Spanish or Italian? And you were like, I don't know how to do
It
this
was Spanish. It was Spanish. It
Yeah.
was Spanish. You know, and again,
Yeah.
like I come from Italian parents, but not that I know Italian well enough to speak it with any sort of an accent. I understand it. And I know that, you know, English and Spanish are Italian and Spanish are very similar. In a lot of ways you can pick up on certain words and stuff like that. But yeah, I really loved you had a Latina reader in that. And I threw this question into my notes for my interview, but I was curious, like, do you feel that is there just not a lot of Latina reader fiction out there? And what, like, is that something that you're kind of like hoping to maybe like, you know, fill in the gaps there with this series that you've got going on? Because I know you don't necessarily do that in every one, but for this one, was there like, it seems close to your heart in a lot of the stuff that you talk about in it too. Like I could tell it's not you, but you know, you've got some experience and stuff, you know, with that I think you can play off of, especially like the coffee and stuff. I love that at the like midnight. I was like, yep,
Yeah.
those are Italians do that too. That's the thing.
Exactly. I have a best friend who's Italian. So, you know, growing up, we had a lot of similarities in that way.
Mhm.
But thank you for asking that question. Yes, Midnight Espresso is it's my passion project, really. Because yes, I am Latina, I am Cuban, Puerto Rican, and Dominican. And I am in fact plus size. So I was like, it felt very, I was like, oh God, nobody's going to read this. This is very self-indulgent. It felt almost wrong. I was like, oh God, like this is feels like it's just for me. But you know what? The more I thought about it, I was like, there's got to be other Latina people out here. There's definitely plus size people out here because there's a plus size reader tag. So I was like, you know what? My plus size lovelies might love this or might enjoy this rather. My fellow Latinas, wherever they are, they might enjoy this, my fellow Latines. And so I was like, you know what? Let me just do this. But it all stemmed from a thought of like, it was a very simple premise. It was like, what if Dean had a Latina girlfriend? And I was like, she would shower him with so much affection and feed him. And
feeding is important with Dean Winchester.
Feeding is important with Dean.
I was just thinking about your Some Sunny Day series then, Sandra.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, is that like, I'm joking because I know that feeding people is like, that's like a Spanish thing and like an Italian thing.
What? A lot of cultures share that.
Yeah.
English don't. We don't. That is, if you come to an English person's house and it's dinner time, you will not be invited to leave, but it will be made very fucking clear that you need to go. We are not people.
We open the doors, sit down, let me pull something out of the fridge, let me see what I got, what you want me to make. It's all that stuff. Yeah.
It's the second you walk in the door, have you eaten?
Yeah, no. Yeah. No.
It's, you want some coffee, you want a snack, you want dinner?
Tea and biscuits we'll offer you, but you can only take a couple of biscuits, otherwise we're going to be secretly offended about it. But
we will take the whole sleeve.
No, we will offer you tea and biscuits. But meals, like, there's kind of just like this weird, like, I think it's dying out now, but it's like the generation before mine, if your friends as children, if your friends were still in the house at dinner time, that was considered presumptuous and rude.
Oh, wow.
That they would be presuming that they were going to be fed and, oh, it's dinner time. Wow. Doesn't your mother want you home for dinner? And like I said, it's probably dying out now.
But yeah,
my
totally
kids,
different. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My kids don't. Well, my littlest is 6, and my eldest's friends don't live close enough to actually like come over for dinner. So I don't know. Maybe it's dying out now. But yeah, no, it was considered presumptuous. And it's dinner time. You need to go home. You need to go. It's your mom's job to feed you, not my job to feed you.
Maybe
so
that's why we love Dean so much more, because we know we can feed him and he'll eat whatever we put in front of him. Sam might be more of a
basically.
Shut up. Sam would eat whatever you put in front of him.
Oh, he would. I think
he would. He's polite.
Out of politeness.
Yeah,
out of politeness. Dean would savor it.
Dean would love it and enjoy it. Sam would be like, "Oh my, all right."
You're like, and what is this? Okay.
He'd eat whatever you served him, and then pencil in an extra long fucking jog and like a green smoothie fast for a week to deal with it. Yeah. No, I get it.
In his future.
No, but I think Alex, your point about being self-indulgent, I think those are some of the best things you can write, because that's what I did with Some Sunny Day, was like, how do I basically like put myself into it, and I kind of use that as the guide for my original character, because I wanted to experience that. And I think that's what Reader Insert's all about too, right? Like, it's this fantasy, it's this escape, it's, the readers want to get put into the story. And sometimes the best way to do that is to bring it all from your perspective, and I think that I really did. I loved narrating that, because he's just getting, all the things, that I think the not knowing, the unsure, you realize they both want something to happen. They don't think they're either like good enough for that and all this stuff. And then just kind of like, boom, it happens. And it, and it's over food, which I think is lovely. I just love that.
I
love that.
It was such a joy writing that first story. But there was also fear, like I said, of like, oh, nobody's going to read this, whatever. This will just be for me. This is one thing. Mm-hmm. But the way people responded to it was so kind and so wonderful, because I came at it with the approach of like, this is not trying to exclude anybody.
Yeah.
This is trying to bring you into my culture,
right? Trying
to bring you into like some of my experience in a playful way, hopefully a fun way. Mm-hmm. And, how Dean would respond to that, but still be himself in the midst of like what she's bringing to the table and being intrigued what she has to offer and all that kind of stuff. And also dealing with that series throughout, as I started writing more stories for that series, getting more inspired by like people giving such lovely feedback, I was able to explore some like deeper things of like body insecurity and past relationships where, you've been made to feel less than. And, how Dean would approach those issues in his partner.
Yeah.
Because he's a protector, I think, in all senses, not just physically protective, but also like emotionally protective as well.
Yeah.
And so I was able to explore parts of myself that I hadn't really explored in my fiction, I guess. And so that was actually cathartic for me in a way, not just like expressing myself and my culture, but also kind of putting myself out there in that way too, of like, hey, these are issues that I have dealt with. Maybe you have dealt with the same. And there were a lot of people who responded positively to that, of like, yeah, I have definitely been through that, have, you know, dealt with that. And so, but yeah, that as I said, that whole series is very dear to me in many ways, but it was always with the intention of everybody's welcome here. This is not just for Latina people. This is not just for plus size people. I think anybody can, because it's like, I feel like you can learn something new from any new culture or any new experience you expose yourself to.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got it open on my iPad now. Like, I can't wait to dive into it because
thank you.
I really love, like, I love fics and stories that are just, you know, that are for the porn, you know, just like, hey, what if they fucked here? And I love fics that are like, hey, you know, what if this happened, or what if that happened? But I really love stories and worlds where people have something to say, and you can tell that they're writing it for them, not just, you know, it holds more weight, it holds a deeper meaning. I really, really love that. And that is one of my favorite things about Sandra's Some Sunny Day, is like getting to see this. It's like, it's indulgent. Sandra wrote it for Sandra, but getting to see this glimpse into this like other culture that is, as we've established, very fucking unfamiliar to me. I'm like, what do you mean? You just feed someone that turns up at the door? What? No, you tell them it is dinner time and they need to leave. That is, but yeah, no, it's just something I really love when you can see that an author is really, not to say that we write just for the sake of fucking writing, but you know, there's a deeper connection to it. And you can see that in the writing. I can't wait to dive into it. Can't wait.
Thank you so much. I'm making mental notes on all these story names that you're dropping. So yes.
Some Sunny Days is real long.
Yeah.
So you won't struggle to find it.
If I'm hooked, I'm hooked. I'm diving deep. But yeah, like, of course, there is smut for smut's sake, right? There's just pure escapism, and there's, you know, and pure entertainment, and that's great. Yeah, I find that what connects me most to things when I'm reading, and indeed when I'm writing, is stuff that I believe in, stuff that I'm passionate about, stories that I'm passionate about telling. And so yeah, Midnight Espresso is definitely one of those. I'm actually working on I just finished writing a 3-part addition to that.
Okay.
Based on something somebody kind of requested. So yeah, I'm working on that.
Nice.
Or actually, I finished it, but I'm debating on when to post it. But
okay.
So yeah, that's coming soon. But yeah, and then tackling the ending, giving Dean a happy ending, an ending that, you know, he does that we believe he deserved, and all that kind of thing.
I think with anybody that writes I think a lot of the supernatural, especially like the fix-its or like different things like that, like I've done that a couple times, because you just kind of, you want something better for the boys, you know, then.
Yes.
And I think that it's making them happy in whatever that is, like however you ship, however you pair, but making them happy, you know, it's like, that's kind of like the end goal, you know, I think. And I think that's where, yeah, I guess from like a romance, you know, novel perspective, like, you know, you want to have a happily ever after, or at least a happy for now, you know? So it's like, if you're going to leave them on a little cliffhanger, make sure it's happy for now, with like, oh, but there might be something in, you know, in the distance that might not be that great, but for now they're happy. Like, that's kind of where I try to do that too. And it seems like you do that as well. Like, you know, and I think that's really, I'm looking forward to reading a lot more of your stuff as we go. And I get to read, like I said, the was it the epilogue to Smoke Eater that you just finished? Something Real that is being narrated.
Oh, it's a sequel story.
Okay.
Yes, Sandra graciously agreed to narrate that one as well. That's a sequel story. It's going to take place like basically a few weeks after the epilogue.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to, I got to read Smoke Eater and then know what I'm doing when I get to Something Real. So I'm halfway through. So I've got that to go on.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you for that. I loved writing Smoke Eater. That was a tough one to write. I'm not going to lie. And
was that based, you have a love for those kinds of like shows, like investigative, like the
procedurals, cop procedurals, a deep and abiding love.
Okay.
For like Law and Order, Chicago Med, Chicago Fire, Chicago PD. Like I grew up on Law and Order, and then just developed a deeper love for those kind of House MD. Like I love
House.
a good House is so fucking good. I think it's one of the best shows ever written, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I love House.
House is brilliant. And so yeah, I came from that kind of frame of reference, and I had watched Chicago Fire, was a fan of that for a long time, so that is where I kind of drew from the Firehouse aspect of things.
Mm-hmm.
And then drop in a murder mystery.
Mm-hmm.
Pulling in the PD aspect of things, and yeah, it just became this wild story.
Mm-hmm.
I intended to just be a fun firefighter
stuff.
AU.
Yeah, I'm getting to all like, okay, here.
What chapter are you on, out of curiosity?
I'm getting into the part where like John is like investigating and he's bringing like Dean into it and all that kind of stuff. And like, I don't want to ruin it for Kasey in case they decide.
Oh yeah, true.
But yeah, just that part of it where this is when I really do appreciate when somebody takes all the different characters and you find a place for them in this sort of AU that really makes sense and fits the character. Kasey, you will probably love Meg in this.
I love Meg in everything.
But Meg and Cass
I love
Meg and Cass are a couple in this. And it's very, very on point and really great.
I love it.
But even like
thank you.
Jack is adorable in this. I love it. It's really good. I've noticed this about Alex's stuff, and there's a bit in Midnight Espresso where there's a fight scene, and I felt that the fight scene was written very well. And I think a lot of people don't quite like they miss the action part to go along with the other stuff. And there's also a scene in Smoke Eater that was basically there was a house fire and stuff like that, and I appreciated that you gave that the weight, and it was a tense moment and stuff like that in that book. So, and I consider it a book because when you get to that point and you're over like 60 or 70K into a story, you've basically
that's a novel.
You've written a novel at that point.
It's 90K. It's around there.
Yeah. You've written a book. The fight scene I thought in Midnight Espresso was good because there was a lot of like small details like in the middle of the action that I thought were good. I think you'll give it a pass, Kasey. If there's anything that you're like, I don't know, but I would imagine, Alex, if you watch the procedural stuff, you probably are like, wait a minute, I got to check that out and research that.
Yes,
and see if that's actually a thing.
I do a lot of research. Even when I've watched those shows, like I have an uncle who's a firefighter.
Okay.
So, or who was a firefighter, I should say. And so, yeah, and here's my rule of thumb. I don't write what I don't know. And if I do, I try to do as much research as possible. With Chicago, the One Chicago World, as it's kind of called, they have done their best to be as accurate as possible.
Oh,
I get what you're saying. There's stuff in House MD that would never fucking happen because it's
like
it's just for the sake of the drama.
Running tests, trying to find out, no, doctors go, have you considered that you're imagining it? Have you tried losing weight about it? They would never authorize all those tests. Yeah. No, I totally get it.
Yeah,
and
exactly. Because I understand there are a lot of procedurals that that shit would never happen. But particularly with Chicago Fire, Chicago Med, I know specifically with Fire, they actually consult actual firefighters and have based situations on real situations that have happened.
Okay.
Yeah. So even some storylines are based on actual things that have happened. So if you executive producer Dick Wolf, he was a lawyer.
He did Law and Order,
he started
right?
the Law and Order.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so a lot of Law and Order stuff was based on real cases.
See, my husband watched.
Not that was all accurate, but it's trying to root it in authenticity.
And
so I tried to do that in my stories as well.
There's definitely play for drama as well, and I totally get that. But my husband really likes, he's watched NCIS and
oh yeah,
I think he might have watched Law and Order, and he likes that stuff. And I'm like, how can you? It's so unrealistic. How can you And I really struggle with it. Is kind of my point.
Well, you're cursed by knowledge, Kasey. It's that you've seen behind the curtain, so you know the logic. You know the real shit behind these how things are done, where the average person doesn't know shit about how an actual working fire is dealt with.
Yeah.
Or how
Yeah.
certain cases are dealt with, so they can just like watch it and be entertained.
Like you said,
I'm
for
gonna
drama's sake.
prod him.
Yeah. Mhm.
I'm gonna prod him and be like, you need to watch the Chicago stuff. Alex has left a comment on this question, so I want to like hop back a little bit.
Okay.
Do you have a Jensen character that you love over the rest, or you find easier to write?
Okay, so
I mean, I'm guessing
This is
Dean
tough.
is easier to write, but that would be
yes, because
Okay.
he's lived in my heart the longest.
right.
Mhm.
You know, I have 15 seasons of material to work
Yeah.
with him.
Yeah.
I hear him in my head, like I can hear his voice very clearly.
Isn't that great? When you write, when you could just hear, like, when you could hear the character. I love that. I love
Yes.
that.
It's the best. And so, you know, I would say like taking Dean out of the equation, because that's just kind of a given. I wouldn't say easiest, but I would say most fun and most interesting challenge has been Soldier Boy.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But then again, I've also enjoyed I've enjoyed every character that I've written of his.
Mhm.
But I mean, as far as the easiest, yeah, Dean. As far as the most interesting, most complicated, most challenging has been Soldier Boy.
Mm.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
I think that's why this is going to be interesting. This is going to be an interesting experiment with him. Yeah.
Yeah,
Soldier
best of
Boy.
luck.
Thank you.
It's difficult. I'm not going to
Yeah.
lie.
Yeah. Yeah. That'll be
You know, we'll help
interesting.
you though. You know, we'll
But
help
I believe in you because you're a great writer. I can already
Yes.
see.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Just from one shot that I've read, I'm like, oh, she's good. I need to read more of hers.
the bestest. The bestest.
And Casey, I want to read something of yours too.
Ah, thank you very much. I do have some Sam. No, I do have some Dean.
Ew.
I have like a lot of
I
my
have Sam
reader
too.
insert stuff is Sam, but I do have some Dean reader insert stuff as well. Like,
Ooh, I love me some Sam. No worries there.
cool.
I'll delve in. Whatever
From
calls to me.
From before, I like dipped a foot in Windsor, and I was like, oh, it's nice over here.
And then that was it.
But you know what though? Going back to what you guys were saying about like comfort and familiarity in Dean, and you know, being able to give him all the love and the happy endings that he wished he'd had in the
Oh.
show.
Mm.
Creamy sigh.
Oh, that's how I get with Sam. I'm like, oh,
Yeah. That's why we talk a lot about initially when I did this podcast, I was going to do the podcast and Casey was like, I need to come along for the ride because you're not going to include Sam enough. And then what I ended up learning was how to love and appreciate Sam as well from Casey and through Casey's eyes, and how much they
Aw.
adore Sam and how much
He is
they
my
want to
baby.
protect him and how he never does anything wrong.
he is a fucking goddamn baby, and he has never done a thing wrong in his entire life. And any questionable decisions he has made have been at the influence of other people. We talked about this.
I know we've talked about this.
We talked about this.
Well,
Samuel
I think-
Winchester did not stand in a fucking church and lie his ass off. Dean did. Fight me.
Oh,
my
yeah.
god. Oh my goodness. Oh
No,
Again.
I do love Sam. I have written for Sam as well. You know,
Just
Sam
a
is
baby.
special. Honestly, for me, Sam is harder to write.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sandra says
authentically.
that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've
I
just
really-
started
He's a
writing him
harder
little bit
personality
more.
to nail down.
Mhm. Mhm.
I struggled with Dean when I first started writing Dean. I was like, oh my god,
Isn't
I
that
don't.
interesting? Like how like,
Yeah.
certain people
That's
will
so
have
funny.
you know
Yeah.
a difficulty with certain characters, and that's I think again why I love having Casey to bounce ideas off of. If I'm trying because I'm trying to do a Wincest for this Big Bang, and so I'm
Ooh.
like I'm trying to do really get into the characters more, and really getting into Sam is it's difficult. It's difficult to get into his side of it.
And
You
weirdly,
know what the
she's
thing is with Sam? Oh, I'm
Mm.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to
Oh,
say,
well-
sorry. Sandra's chosen like one of the only periods of Sam that I've never written, which is soulless.
Mm.
So, go big or go home, baby.
Yeah. No, but Alex, what were you?
That's what I was about to get
Yeah.
at, was that Sam's personality, depending on the season, can be vastly different.
Mm-hmm.
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 So it's kind of like what era of Sam that you're going to work in, because early seasons is very different from like middle seasons, which is also very different from later seasons. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you can kind of say similar things of Dean, like he's gone through a lot as well. His
Mhm.
personality has shifted, but I don't think as dramatically as Sam's.
Well, I mean, it is Sam's story, like at the end of the day, like the whole like Supernatural started with Sam. And, so I think he has more of the hero's journey, so I think he really does go through a lot more. I think a lot of it is we see Sam through Dean, I think a little bit more, then we're really given into like a lot of insight with Sam. So I think he remains, I think, a little bit more mysterious by design of the show, and I think, I mean, I've said this too, like, and I think, it's accurate. Like you kind of have to have an antagonist, like protagonist, antagonist. I think sometimes for to just be Dean and Sam, a lot of the times, they pit themselves, the writers pit them against each other. And so then, a lot of times, well, where's your allegiance stand? And then if they don't give you enough reasons for Sam doing what he does, really like all of that, it makes it harder, like I think for some people. So yeah, he's definitely the more, for me again, but Kasey comes at it from they get him, and so it's like sometimes I'm like, okay, Kasey, I don't know, like what do I do? I
don't know what it is, because his choices make sense to me.
See, that's what I mean.
I don't always agree with them.
Yeah.
But his choices, I can see why he's done what he's done. But then sometimes Dean does things like, and I'm not saying Sam never lies, because he definitely does, but Dean lies about things that I'm like, but why?
And then you come to me.
And then I come to you and I'm like, Sandra, why? Why is this like this?
Well, I have a theory.
Go, hit me.
I think Sam approaches things always from logic. Whereas Dean is more intuitive. He's more of a feeling type. He bases his decisions based a lot of time on emotion.
But doesn't want you to know that. So, I think that's the problem too.
He doesn't want you to know that. So the reasons why he lies is often for self-preservation.
Yeah.
Or he tells himself he's doing it to spare Sam or to spare, whoever, but he's really sparing himself in a lot of ways. So, but when Sam lies, it's like, if I tell him, he's going to react this way and I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
Or I can't have him know this right now. I can't have him know this information right now because it's going to mess with what I'm planning to do.
Yep.
So that's logic. That's just like, so actually soulless Sam makes a lot of sense because it's just pure logic, none of the heart.
It's funny you say that. Actually, when I saw the Supernatural panel at Liverpool Comic Con, like, did I tell you, Alex, I met Jared?
You did?
I did. I met him 3 times.
I want to go to a con later this year.
I have my fingers crossed. Ever. I hope you get there.
How was your experience with Jared? Thank you.
It's beautiful. Delightful. He did a Supernatural panel with Mark Shepard that afternoon. And one of the questions he was asked was, if you had to spend, I don't know if it was a period of time or the rest of your life, whatever, with Demon Dean or Soulless Sam, who would you choose? Ooh. And he considered it for a minute and he was like, I think he considered it in the way they joke and hype it up and whatever. But he was like, no, Soulless, he's logical. I could speak to that. I could work with that. Demon Dean's a loose cannon. Soulless Sam, I could speak math to him and he would understand. It was really fucking
so funny.
The panel is on YouTube. I highly recommend you go look it up. It's really, really funny. We have
I've seen clips of it.
We gave them full sofas so he didn't have to try and contort himself onto a bar stool. He could do his weird I can't sit properly. It was real nice. It was real.
It's backward on a chair. Yeah. No, I love that.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, who are some of your favorite SPN fanfic authors that maybe you could give a shout out to? Maybe we could reach out to, maybe see if they might want to be willing to come onto the podcast at some point, maybe talk about their stuff. Is there anybody that you really love and admire, or maybe brought you into the fold?
Yeah, for sure. So
you mentioned Dean Spinster Witch. Do they?
That name's familiar to me.
I've seen their name. Do they write, or are they more of a reader?
She's a reader.
Okay.
But as far as writers, I have a lot of favorites, but just naming off the top of my head, Wayne's Multiverse, she is excellent. She's written for a lot of different fandoms, but she writes for SPN and she's written for The Boys. She's writing a Bo Arlen series right now.
Ooh, okay.
And then I forgot about Bo Arlen. He's awesome too. Um, Dean Winchester is a warrior. She
Okay.
is awesome. Does not get enough credit for her work.
I think I'm noticing a lot of these names too from like the bingo Jackals.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think Dean Winchester as a warrior is in that. Yeah.
Are you doing the Jackals vs. Bingo this year, Alex?
I've never done a bingo before.
Okay.
Oh.
If you want to drive yourself crazy and add that to the list, I definitely suggest giving that a try because you'll add more pressure to
Sure.
No, I would recommend a bingo over a bang any day. I am infinitely less stressed about the Jackals vs. Bingo than I am about the
a little
bang.
bit more stressful. Yeah.
Oh,
But no,
amazing.
the
Wayward
verse-
X Words is another one.
Okay.
Wayward Dreamer is another one.
Okay.
Brislow Writes.
Oh,
I think that's how you say her username.
love her stuff.
She's fantastic.
She was one
Lucy
of my
in Trench
first people.
Coats.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of awesome. Some of them are like there's a couple that come to mind, but they're not that active right now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. More old school. Yeah. I think they've been around for a while. Yeah. No, that's great.
But like the ones that I just named are active and
Mhm.
they're doing stuff and they're
if
awesome.
you ever decide to do a bingo, the Jackals verse is
there
being
anything you
run
can
by-
send me to like that I can learn more about it?
Yeah.
We can hit you up with the Tumblr.
Yeah, we'll send you with the link. Kim, who is Winchester Witch, she is the one
I love
running.
her.
She's the one running Jackal's verse, and she's been lovely. The whole process has been great.
Yes.
It's what you put your brain through when you're trying to figure out what you're going to do. Do not get a 5x5 card. Do a 3x3. I got a 5x5, and I regret doing that. But I'm also like, okay, maybe I can get through half. If I can get through half of them, I'll be fine. There's no pressure to get it done. It's more like you're probably used to putting the pressure on yourself and figuring out, oh, there's only so much time. And you think you've got all this time and all of a sudden you don't. And you're like, okay, legitimately, how can I get that stuff done? That's kind of why I did, the Iceman Cometh, because I said, I just need to do something short and fun and sweet that will check off a bingo square. And that's like, get back to this, try to do this. Cause I don't do them often. But sometimes one shots are nice to do. It's just nice to just give yourself a like window wipe. Don't plot too much. You're going to plot a little bit, but don't plot a lot. And just, be in that
window wipe.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Get that
Sandra likes a plot. She do like a plot.
Yeah.
I love a plot
Alex.
too. That's my problem. Yeah, we share that in common. Oh God, I get lost in, like I said, lost in the weeds. Dean Winchester, with which she did a event last year that was like Christmas in July.
Okay.
And I did that one. So that's like the only like event that I've done.
Yeah. Too many things now. I'm sure I'm like trying to like not do. But there's
this is also why I write ahead so that I have like breathing room.
I was
for these types of things.
Like, do you have stuff that you write that you just wait? Like, do you have like smaller whips and things that you just hold on to so you just don't even post, right? Until you're like, or do you just keep them? Do you hoard them? Some things you hoard some stories for a while until you're ready to like let them out, let them loose.
Yes, because as much as I put out there, I am also wary of inundating people with content. So it's like, if I let all of this loose at once, people are not gonna. It needs more time for people to see it.
Yeah.
I think the drip approach is good. I think that's good. I like it.
Yeah,
I like
like
that
You
approach.
can take that too far though. Don't wait a year between posting installments of things.
Absolutely not. No, I'm more like
that.
wait a month, wait a couple weeks. Like the tracker series. I just wrote a 5-chapter tracker series.
Okay.
And that's completely done. It's just like finishing touches, editing. I'm going to start releasing chapter 1 of that June 13th. It's a Wednesday, or June 12th.
Okay.
And then I'm like that 3-part story for the Midnight Espresso Storyverse. I'm debating on when to post that, because it's like I could post it alongside the tracker series, but it's like I want to give that breathing room. So I'll probably save it for after that series is done, or maybe towards the end, and like alternate.
Yeah.
Post something on a Wednesday and then post on a Sunday. Like that's how I tried to break it up. I've also been experimenting like with posting days, like which days are better for posting.
Okay. Have you noticed anything yet, or it's still in the testing phase to figure out?
I think that Saturdays are not a good day for posting, just because people are out and about typically on a Saturday. So they're not so on the Tumblr or on the AO3. But I feel like Sunday afternoon is a good posting time. And I feel like I've posted on Wednesdays, I've posted on Fridays before, and have gotten good engagement on those days. I feel like Monday is kind of a wild card.
It's like everybody's starting the week again and stuff like that. So
people are busy with work. It's like either they're really ready for something because their Monday was shit, or they're like too busy to read. So I try to keep it either middle of the week or Friday or Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why we don't release episodes on a Monday, because ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
highly recommend, if Jackal's Verse runs again this year, we're not sure if it will, sign up. Kim will. She got your back. I signed up on the second round.
No, I love her. She's fantastic.
Yeah.
We've talked a little bit before, and she's such a cool person.
She's an amazing person.
And she's obviously a brilliant writer too.
Oh yeah. I love her Run to You. That's like one of my favorite ones.
Yes. I believe I read that as well.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Okay, Kasey, I'm leaving you.
It's my go.
Your questions. Your questions.
It's my go. Okay, so if you want to share, like, that's cool. But if you don't, like, it's totally fine, and we'll just cut this out. But how did you come up with your username?
Oh yes, so I am a huge Led Zeppelin fan.
Okay.
Not unlike Dean. And, while I didn't want to associate myself with like the original meaning of like what a Zeppelin is, like, was made for World War II purposes, World War I purposes, but I love the band, and so I was like trying to come up with, different, like, even on my blog page there is a line from one of my favorite Zeppelin songs, which is Going to California. So that's where that kind of came from. And Zeppelins are very as a ship, they're very fast and powerful, and I don't know. So that's kind of where my brain went with that. As far as like influences, music is one of my top influences, especially when I'm writing. I get a lot of ideas, and music often fuels my writing sessions. I will create playlists for certain stories even. You might have noticed that there's one for Smoke Eater, there's one for Break Me Down. So I get into the vibe of certain things, or certain lyrics will kind of encapsulate for me the story that I'm trying to create, or the vibe of it, or the time and the era in which the music is written is kind of encapsulating the story. So I get a lot from music.
Awesome. So I have to say again, I have to point you towards Dandelion Dreams as Rookie series, because every single chapter is a song, and she has like full playlists of like, there might be about like 6 different works in the Rookie series, and every single one of them has a playlist. Like, it's really song focused. And that's also
right up my alley.
My biggest thing that I've written, but it's also the albatross around my fucking neck. My Junkie series, it started out just as one song, but now I've kind of expanded it to include like the whole album, mostly because I ran out of lyrics from the first song, and I was like, hey, this one fits. But that's inspired by The Virus of Life by Slipknot from Vol 3.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know, I just couldn't get that fucking song out of my head. And like, it's ambiguous in that the way I've used it could be Sam talking or it could be Dean talking. It's never, the POV could be either of them based on the situation that they're in. Yeah, I really recommend the Rookie series when you're so into music and so into songs. And if you wanted to take a peek at Junkies, you can, but it's awful. Like, and I'm not being self-depreciating in like, oh my god, it's the word, like it sucks. No. The story, the plot is awful. It's horrendous. And it was bad.
Well, there's always something to save in things that you feel like was not your best.
No. I don't mean it like that. I don't mean it like that. I'm endlessly fucking proud of it. I mean, the story that I'm telling is awful. It's really
I see what you're saying.
very
dark.
I'm like, damn,
Awful.
don't be so hard on yourself.
No. I am
But
like
the story is dark. Okay.
stupid proud of it. It's really, it started out as porn and now it's become like some kind of weird therapy thing that I'm doing. And I didn't authorize any of this. I just wanted to write I watched My Bloody Valentine, the episode, and I was like, you know, when he's in the bathroom and he's handcuffed to the sink and he's all sweaty and stuff, and I was like, oh fucking hell.
It gave you feelings.
It gave me feelings. And then all this fucking plot badged in, and I was like, wait. You're not supposed to be here. And now it's more plot than porn. And I'm unhappy.
Oh,
But
amazing.
yeah, I've done a lot of song fics. I like you, I really resonate with songs and I'm putting them into works and things like that. But I don't know.
Yeah, I love it.
Alrighty, last question. And this is the secret question. So I don't let people prepare for this one. But don't worry, it's absolutely nothing to do with writing or supernatural or anything else that we've discussed today. Alex,
Okay.
what is your favorite dinosaur?
Ooh.
I love that silence. I get that from everybody. Everybody I ask, I just get silence. But adults don't ask other adults what their favorite dinosaur is enough. As an adult, nobody has asked you that since you were like a child, have they? Maybe not even then because you were a girl. Maybe they were like, she don't like dinosaurs.
Well, as a matter of fact, I am a huge Jurassic Park fan.
Which? Yeah.
Yes. I love Spielberg. And I as an 8-year-old kid, I freaking fell in love with Jurassic Park. I'm weird. Like I was very much
cool. Love it.
I was very much like an Animal Planet nerd growing up.
Yes.
Yeah, I watched all the stuff having to do with animals and dinosaurs and all that stuff. So for that reason, my answer is a velociraptor.
Yes.
Okay.
Now
They were like literally they were like more scary than the T-Rex.
Oh, totally. She wasn't the antagonist of that movie. She was just living a fucking life. The velociraptors were.
That's true. It was humans that were coming in being like, let's build a park around this shit.
Yeah. Fucking stupid idea. Fucking Rexy was the best. We love her. We stan Rexy, always.
This is true.
Follow-up question then, since you know dinosaurs. Velociraptor as they were portrayed in Jurassic Park, or velociraptors as we think they actually existed?
Well, my childhood heart says as they were portrayed in Jurassic Park, but I know realistically they were most likely did not look like that. And obviously, Jurassic Park is not scientifically accurate, but you know, they were animatronics and CGI. But I mean, for my childhood heart, I'm going to go Jurassic Park.
Yep, that's totally cool. Awesome. Thank you very much. And that concludes my questions. Sandra, take over. Bring us back in the line.
We're almost 3 hours in, and I am going to let you go, Alex. But I wanted to say,
don't apologize. I'm having so much fun.
Oh, I'm glad. But when I was like, whoa, we are going long. I was not expecting this. I think we were thinking, oh, you know, somebody new. It's probably going to be like but we've had such a wonderful time just talking to you just about fiction and the show and Dean and, you know, all these other things. I mean, I hope we can keep connecting after all this, and definitely like maybe even have you back again, you know, at some point. But I wanted to ask you before we let you go, is there something you could pass along or say to any fanfic writer out there who might be having a tough time, just a little bit of inspiration or wisdom that you could pass along to another writer?
Oh, wow. Well, first of all, I would love to come back. This has been awesome.
Good.
You guys are lovely.
Thank you.
Kasey, I've loved meeting you, and Sandra, properly talking to you for the first time.
I have loved meeting you and spending time with you as well. Awesome. Please come back.
Love it. Warms my heart, genuinely. But to answer your question, I would say, and I know a lot of friends who have like dropped off because they haven't gotten a lot of engagement or haven't gotten the feedback, or, you know, feeling discouraged. And I'm like, look, your writing journey is where you are, but it doesn't determine where you're gonna end up. And no amount of feedback is a reflection on you as a writer. Okay, so just whatever you write, be passionate about what you're writing. That's gonna come through, and you never know what people are gonna connect with. Like, I've had people like, for example, the Midnight Espresso thing, people have come and told me, hey, you wrote about your personal experience and your culture and your ethnicity. It inspired me to do the same. And now I'm writing this series that is, an Indian reader or
I love that.
Yeah, or is an Asian reader, or thank you for writing an Asian reader. Thank you for writing about the Latina experience, Thank you for writing plus size readers. And in your readers, thank you for not, kind of implying classic white features. Thank you for keeping it, as general as possible for everybody to be able to enjoy. So these are all things that have very much touched me. And so just write from your heart, write what you believe in. Don't write because you think it's what people want to be entertained with, which you think is going to get the most notes or the most feedback. Write what you, and do your research when there are things that you want to write about, but don't feel like you have enough education on it. You can learn about anything. That's how you get better as a writer. I am not the best writer that I am right now. Hopefully I will never be the best writer that I'll ever be.
Yeah.
So that's how I would encourage anybody who writes or produces any kind of content. I think that goes for any creative.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you.
That's great.
Thank you.
Seriously, I'm going to be reading up on your stuff. I'd love to hear your thoughts on some of my stuff too, especially.
Absolutely.
I feel like we have a kindred. Past due, definitely, but Some Sunny Day, I feel like when you talked about like, sort of like the self-indulgent, like for Midnight Espresso, Some Sunny Day was that for me and Dean. So
I love it.
I'd love to know your thoughts because again, I stuck my mother in there. She's like,
amazing,
all that kind of stuff because it's just like, it's just.
Yeah, you draw on what you know.
You draw on what you know. My motto for writing
I incorporated
is,
my aunt, my mom, my grandmother, and all of those things that had to do with food and family. I feel like Italians and Hispanics, they very much unite on food and family.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
I think my motto is like, write what you love and what you'd love to know more about. Like, that's kind of like how I think of writing. So it's like, I just, I would love to know what you think, even just the first couple chapters. And if you love Julie and Dean, I will be extremely, extremely grateful. But yes, I would
absolutely. I can't wait.
You will see me.
Wait.
You will see me in your kudos and comments very soon, but I can't promise it will be anything really long and in-depth like Midnight Espresso or Smoke Eater because I don't have that much brain at the moment. So
no worries.
See me in your one-shots and your short fics going, oh my God, this is the best. And I know that I'm building up to those longer ones because real life sucks, work sucks, and my brain's like, we don't have the time for this.
Times are hard. It's everybody's brain cycles through that stuff too. And it's just like sometimes more power to you, Alex. You are committed, you are on schedule. I'm just amazed. I will say I love the banner art for Tumblr. I just think it's
thank you. I'm not a designer by any means.
What do you use?
I do my best. I use Canva.
Thank you. That's what I was like.
Because I'm a basic bitch. Yep, I'm a basic bitch. I just use stuff that I can easily use.
It's great though. It's really for something just trying to get points across and stuff. That's what I use for the little like podcast stuff that I do. I'm just like, no, let's just find something and figure something out and get that to work that way. So it does the job. But no, I think I think you've got
I've tried to create like a color scheme, a brand, a kind of like motif throughout, and depending on what fandom it is, I kind of change things up a little. So
that's awesome.
I do my best.
Awesome.
But
that's awesome.
And like as far as life being crazy, like I do my best to support my fellow writers and new writers are on the come up who ask me like, can you please? And I'm like, yes, I'll try. I promise I'll try. I might not be able to because sometimes I get requests to read things and it's like, if I can, I will, I promise.
Yeah.
But, as you guys know, life is like, I have a full-time job and a part-time job.
Oh,
like, I'm not like some people who are like you, Kasey, married or have kids and all that. Like I'm single, but I still got a lot of responsibility. So it's like, as active as you see my posts on Tumblr, guarantee I'm not there half the time. That's scheduled ahead of time.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. No,
like I carve out a night or whatever, and I, knock out those things, and I try to space them out so I'm not inundating people. And, that schedule button is my best friend.
Yeah. We've learned that. Yeah. Too on Tumblr too. Yeah. Scheduling helps a lot. Oh, well,
absolutely.
You are a busy person, so we are going to let you go. But we really do appreciate it. You took a lot of time to sit with us and talk about all these things, and we do appreciate
massively.
Yeah, I love I can't help it. I love it when I get a Dean girl on. It just makes my heart happy.
Yes.
So I was just very, very excited to get to talk to you, especially like again with the whole reader insert OC stuff. I was just like, I felt a connection. I said, so let's,
absolutely. We're kindred spirits for sure. No, I want to write more OCs, but Tumblr doesn't like them so much.
Yeah.
It's gotten to the point where I turned one series that was a reader insert into an OC just for archive of our own or AO3.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, let me do an experiment and see how these two things work out. And sure enough, it did well on AO3.
Wow.
As an OC. But as on Tumblr, people like the reader insert experience. So I'm like, okay.
So interesting.
Interesting to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I will be excited to see what the journey of fanfic takes you on. And I mean, relatively new, I think, to it as well, like coming back.
Yeah, I still feel like I'm the new kid.
Yeah.
I've only been here for about a year and a half.
Yeah.
Actively.
You're paving the way for us.
You go.
So we appreciate you. We appreciate you. And we appreciate your time and sharing your work with us.
I appreciate you guys back.
Yeah, but you can.
I love it. It's my pleasure.
Good. Feel free to exit yourself out whenever, because we were going to do our little wrap up goodbyes and stuff after that.
Oh, okay, sure.
I always offer to. I can boot you out. I will not report you to Zoom, but whenever you're ready, you can exit out.
Have a wonderful.
Go ahead and walk out. But have a lovely night, both of you. Again, wonderful to meet you guys and get to talk properly. This was so fun.
Thank you so much.
The best time. Have a good rest of the afternoon, evening, morning, whatever time it is for you. I don't know.
Thank you so much, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Aw.
She's the bestest. Yeah.
Baby. Oh my goodness.
Absolute baby. Oh my God. Like
that was I was not
2014. I was like a mom by then. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wild.
Lots of interesting stuff, especially when it comes to, how she approaches the writing and getting the writing out, and like power to her. I couldn't.
That's impressive, isn't it?
I mean,
no.
Trying to schedule this podcast thing is, and then, I understand it, but my gosh, and then the full time and the part time and that, man, you go.
All the rest of it, yeah,
go, girl.
Absolute champion. And I think, like, we usually have like thoughts and things like this, but what she said about people reaching out to her, saying that, writing a reader insert with a Latina, like, person of color, plus size, and inspiring people. I think we need more people that are willing to put themselves out there like that in fandom space.
Yeah.
Because there's just, the experience is not, it's more than just, I don't want to make this about race, but I think in Hollywood especially, it's very much a single demographic area, but that demographic does not represent everybody. And I think if you wanna, put yourself out there, be a representative. Even if you're only representing yourself, you don't have to be representing, a group of people or a culture, but be a representative for yourself. Don't feel the need to conform. Conform. Don't feel the need to follow the trends, as it were. Write your experience,
Yeah.
Like, you write Some Sunny Day and you were like, well, I'm from an Italian family and this is what we do and this is how it is. And it was so beautiful for that. It is beautiful. Like, it's not dead or anything. It is beautiful for that, because it's different and it's deeper, there's a deeper connection.
Yeah.
So I just think, and I think a lot of times fandom space gets focused on the queer voice, and that's not a bad thing. Like,
right. Yeah.
We all need to be talking, like, those of us in the LGBTQ plus community, keep talking, keep representing, but we are also not the only voice out there. And I really love that we got to bring attention to an author that is representing themselves in that way and be able to talk about it and see the knock-on effect that has, because the world is not just, without putting too fine a point on it, white.
Well, I think the reader representation too is interesting, because I know like with reader insert, like primarily it's, it's been male, female, but I know I am noticing now too, there's more of a distinction, and you are seeing some, not a lot, and there could be more of them, but more like gender neutral fics, like, or like one shots where, they're really, really focusing on the experience with the character to make it, I guess, so anybody, in any, wherever they're at, however they identify, they can also, put themselves into those stories. It's not a lot, but I have seen them a couple times. I hope more of that happens as well, because I think that, like you said, there's spaces for everybody, but to know that there's allowance for those spaces, right? Like it's a big space. It depends on how big we want to make it.
Yeah.
And I think we can, we can be accepting of everybody giving a little bit of their feeling, their person into a story. And I think that's why, it's so great too. Like, I know you talked about Junkies, but it is very personal, but, dark, and you explore a lot of things in that, again, like we talked about it, right? Escape. Like my big thing is escape. I do that a lot. I think you are more like, no, whether we want to or not, we're going in. Like, we're going in.
I'm going to deal with this. We don't want to deal with it, but we're gonna.
And I think that's very individual of each writer. And I think that's, again, the beauty of fan fiction is we get to experience that with the writers, where otherwise we would kind of be just waiting for a book to come out by somebody that maybe might connect, with somebody where we're spilling it. We're just releasing it. All the guts are coming out. And here you get to see what you like and pick it up and turn it around and, use a magnifying glass and all those things. So it's good.
No, I think that's one of the great things about art and creativity in general. Some people do use it as like an escape, and they go, okay, well, I'm dealing with X, Y, and Z, so I'm going to make something where none of that exists. And it's, and it's not perfect and not a utopia, but it's making a place that makes you feel better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then other people are more like, I'm dealing with X, Y, and Z, and I'm just going to wreck some shit until I feel better. And that, it's not quite creation versus destruction, but it's just a different way of expressing those emotions that sometimes you can't even put into words, even if you want to.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that. And I love it in visual art, and I love it in audio art, and I love it in written art. And I just think the kind of thing that Alex has done with her Midnight Espresso series is just, I'm really fucking here for it. I really, really am. Yeah. And I know I'm guilty myself of writing reader inserts, and you keep it so vague. You don't put anything in because you want your reader to be able to project themselves onto the character. It's like playing a first-person video game. You deliberately don't characterize because you're like, oh, well, then it can be however you want it to be. But it
doesn't have to be that way, right? Like,
no.
That's the great thing. Like, I think the most important aspect of it that I've learned too is just like kind of holding back on certain aspects, like maybe appearance wise. But even then, you can still give that character a character. It just doesn't have to be. It's stuck set in stone in certain situations. And so I just think, I think it's a good trend. It's a good place to go if everybody goes, this is my representation, and that representation is not going to apply to everybody, right? But
that doesn't say that everybody can't enjoy it. And then we learn some shit about some people, and that's how we get better as a society, you know? Not to get real life and, meta and God forbid political, but that's how we learn about each other,
Yeah.
The world is more connected than it has ever been, and we are more isolated than we have ever been.
Yeah.
Let's connect. Reach out a hand. Touch somebody. Not like that.
Oh,
Shake hands.
Sometimes it's okay.
Sometimes. But, like, just reach out, represent yourself, and you will find people.
Yeah.
And that's great. Let's build some connections, guys. Let's do all those things. Yeah. But mostly, let's fucking thank Alex, because my God, she was a delight.
Yes, she was.
This episode will not be as long as the recording was.
No, because I'm telling you, we're going over 3 hours right now.
Yeah,
so yeah,
it's been
a lot.
Way over 3 hours. Like a whole bunch of it can be cut out. But Alex, you are welcome back anytime. Come talk to me about dinosaurs and music and all that good stuff.
Yeah. But for now, we're going to say thank you, Alex, and we're going to wrap up this episode. Thank you for listening, and let us know what you thought. Email us at idlingintheimpala@gmail.com. Comment on Spotify in the Q&A section. Leave a YouTube comment. Join our Discord and chat with fellow idlers and us in real time. Check out our merch store, which is another fun way to show your support. You can find details for everything on our website, idlingintheimpala.com. Want to fuel our supernatural road trip? Consider joining us on Ko-fi for as little as $1 a month. We have perks to go along with different membership tiers and would love to have you along for the ride.
Don't forget, you can support us for free by liking, commenting, subscribing on YouTube, and following, rating, sharing on audio platforms. Engagement like that really helps us with the algorithms. All hail their benevolence. As always, we have the causes that we support in the description. From me, you have LGBTQ+ talking charities. From Sandra, you have mental health charities. There is also US election information. Keep yourself informed and up to date as November closes in. That is especially important with what has just kind of gone down at time of recording, which is the 1st of June. So, just make sure you're keeping yourself up to date. Make sure you're doing everything that you need to do to make sure your voice is heard in November. And for my UK peeps, by the time this goes out, we will have had our election. Fingers crossed. It's fucking... I don't even know anymore. Just I hope something has happened. I don't even know. But in all things, in all elections, in all things, remember, it is a jump to the left, not a step to the right, to bastardize the Rocky Horror Picture Show and the Tenacious D cover of Time Warp. And as always, our main causes that we are championing, highlighting, spotlighting, any other adjective that means to draw attention to, they are World Central Kitchen and Doctors Without Borders. Both of these charities are on the ground working in the Ukraine to help those still affected by Russia's unlawful invasion of the Ukraine, and in Gaza, which is in the crossfire of the war between Israel and Hamas. This is not political. It does not matter which side of these issues you stand on. We are coming from a purely humanitarian view here. There are people in the Ukraine and Gaza that are trapped, that are cut off from basic human rights like food, water, and shelter, and they're dying. They didn't ask for war, and we want to help the people risking their lives to help them. If you cannot or do not want to donate financially, that is absolutely fine. Just sharing links around social media helps massively to keep these issues in the public eye and get people in need all the help that we can. So with that, we will say thank you to Alex for joining us. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.